They told us the past was simple, that ancient people worked with crude tools, limited knowledge, and modest ambition. But the stones, still standing around the world, tell a different story. Massive blocks carved with impossible precision. Structures aligned to celestial movements with mathematical accuracy that challenges modern engineering. Foundations so advanced they have endured earthquakes, erosion, and time itself, while many of our own creations have not. These are not myths or legends. They are real sites, measured, mapped, and studied, yet still not fully explained. How were these structures built without modern machinery? Why do techniques appear suddenly, fully formed, and then vanish from history? And what knowledge did ancient civilizations possess that we may have lost or never fully understood? As we look closer, the familiar story of human progress begins to fracture. What if the past was more advanced than we are willing to admit? Tonight, we step beyond assumptions and into the evidence, examining ancient discoveries that stand far beyond what we believe was possible. The valley of Wadi Faynan opens quietly in southern Jordan, its wide basin shaped by wind, water, and time. Low hills of pale stone surround the wadi, their surfaces broken by dark streaks that at first resemble natural scars. Only on closer inspection does their meaning emerge. These blackened mounds are slag, industrial waste, spread across the landscape in quantities too large to ignore. They are the enduring traces of fire, labor, and metal left behind by people who worked this land thousands of years ago. Wadi Faynan is now recognized as one of the most significant ancient copper smelting centers in the world. Archaeological evidence places intensive activity here from the Chalcolithic period through the Bronze and Iron Ages, and later under Roman control. Excavations have uncovered furnaces, fragments of crucibles, air-blowing tuyères, and carefully constructed smelting installations. The scale is striking. Researchers estimate that hundreds of thousands of tons of copper ore were processed in this valley, transforming it into an industrial zone long before the modern concept of industry existed. Mainstream explanations describe a gradual evolution of metallurgical skill. Ancient workers learned how to control heat, regulate airflow, and separate copper from its host rock using charcoal-fired furnaces. Over time, techniques improved, production increased, and Faynan became a vital supplier of copper for tools, weapons, and trade across the Levant. In this view, the site reflects human adaptation and innovation driven by economic demand and regional exchange networks. Yet, as studies became more precise, questions began to surface. Chemical analysis of slag shows surprisingly high efficiency in copper extraction, levels that experimental archaeologists sometimes struggle to reproduce using reconstructed ancient methods. Some furnace remains suggest carefully managed temperatures sustained over long periods, despite the challenges of fuel supply and environmental exposure. This was not casual experimentation. It was controlled, repeatable, and systematic. The environmental evidence adds another layer. Soil and sediment cores reveal heavy metal contamination still present today, indicating prolonged and intensive pollution. For a pre-industrial society, the environmental footprint is unexpectedly large. How many workers were required to sustain this level of production? How were they fed and supplied in such an arid landscape? And who organized and supervised this operation over centuries? Even more curious is the apparent lack of transitional phases in some areas of the site. Certain smelting techniques appear fully developed early on, with limited evidence of earlier trial and error stages. This has led some researchers to wonder whether metallurgical knowledge arrived in Wadi Faynan already refined, perhaps transmitted through long-distance cultural contact, or inherited from traditions that left little physical trace. Beyond conventional scholarship, more speculative ideas quietly circulate. Could Faynan represent a brief peak of technological capability that later societies failed to preserve? Were these methods closely guarded by specialized groups whose knowledge vanished when social or political systems collapsed? Ancient texts from the wider region speak symbolically of master metalworkers and sacred knowledge drawn from the earth. While such accounts are not literal explanations, they hint at how transformative and perhaps unsettling this technology once seemed. Walking through Wadi Faynan today, the valley feels both empty and charged. The furnaces are cold, the workers long gone, yet the slag heaps remain, mute evidence of sustained industrial ambition. There are no surviving instructions, no written records explaining how these systems were built, optimized, or ultimately abandoned. By the late Roman period, large-scale production declined, and the valley gradually returned to silence. Modern archaeology continues to investigate Faynan using satellite imagery, geochemical testing, and experimental reconstruction. Each discovery clarifies part of the story while opening new gaps in understanding. The site does not demand extraordinary conclusions, but it does resist simple ones. If a landscape like this could support such complex, efficient, and environmentally impactful industry so long ago, what other evidence of ancient experimentation lies undiscovered? And how much of humanity's early technological story has yet to be fully told beneath the quiet surface of places like Wadi Faynan? From the industrial scars of Wadi Faynan, where fire and metal reshaped an entire valley, our journey now moves east, away from slag heaps and furnaces, toward silence carved into stone. The theme remains the same, though the expression changes. Once again, we encounter structures that feel deliberate, precise, and quietly resistant to simple explanations. In northern Oman, near the modern town of Ibri, the landscape rises gently into rocky plateaus dotted with limestone outcrops. At first, nothing appears unusual. The terrain is dry, sun-bleached, and still, but embedded into this stone are openings, dark, circular entrances cut cleanly into bedrock. These are the Al-Khutm underground tombs, part of a wider funerary tradition that dates back more than 4,000 years. Unlike monumental pyramids or towering temples, Al-Khutm reveals itself slowly. The tombs are subterranean, hidden beneath the surface, their presence known only by carefully shaped stone portals. Stepping inside, the temperature drops. The air becomes heavy. Chambers open inward, some small and intimate, others unexpectedly spacious, with stone walls smoothed and shaped by human hands long ago. Archaeologists generally date these tombs to the an-Nar period, roughly 2600 to 2000 BCE. They are believed to have served as collective burial spaces, reused over generations. Human remains, pottery fragments, beads, and stone tools found inside support this interpretation. In the mainstream view, the tombs reflect a settled society with strong communal bonds and well-developed ritual traditions surrounding death. Yet the construction itself raises questions. The tombs are carved directly into solid rock with remarkable consistency. Walls are straight, corners deliberate, entrances proportioned with care. In some cases, chambers appear to follow specific orientations, though the purpose of this alignment remains unclear. The precision suggests planning, measurement, and skilled labor, accomplished without metal tools as we understand them today. How were these underground spaces excavated so cleanly? How long did such work take, and who coordinated it? There are no visible marks of hurried effort or crude removal. Instead, the stone bears the quiet confidence of repetition, as if the builders knew exactly what they were doing before they began. The placement of the tombs adds another layer. Al-Khutm is not isolated, but it is not random either. The tombs occupy elevated ground, overlooking valleys and ancient routes. Some researchers suggest this reflects social or territorial significance, while others wonder whether symbolic or cosmological considerations played a role. Were these sites chosen for visibility to the living, or for perceived proximity to something unseen? There is also the matter of longevity. Many tombs show evidence of long-term use, reopened and resealed over centuries. This implies not only technical durability, but cultural continuity. Knowledge of how to access, maintain, and respect these spaces was passed down, even as generations changed. What belief system sustained this relationship between the living and the underground? More speculative interpretations emerge quietly at the edges of academic discussion. Some observers note similarities between Al-Khutm and underground structures found far beyond Oman, suggesting shared architectural ideas or lost networks of influence. Others question whether these spaces served purposes beyond burial, perhaps ritual preparation, ancestor veneration, or activities now archaeologically invisible. Local oral traditions sometimes describe ancient builders with unusual abilities, capable of shaping stone with ease. Such stories are not evidence, but they reveal how deeply these structures impressed those who came after. The tombs did not fade into irrelevance. They lingered in memory, their origins increasingly distant and unclear. Today, Al-Khutm remains largely silent. Many chambers are unexcavated. Others have been documented but not fully understood. Modern tools, laser scanning, ground-penetrating radar, offer new ways of seeing, yet they do not answer the most basic questions of intent and meaning. Standing at the threshold of one of these tombs, it is difficult to escape the feeling that the builders were not merely disposing of the dead, but constructing something meant to endure, physically and symbolically. Like so many ancient structures, Al-Khutm does not announce its secrets. It waits. And as we move deeper into this global record of stone and silence, one question lingers. How many other histories remain hidden underground, not lost, but patiently intact, waiting for us to learn how to listen? From the shadowed chambers of Al-Khutm, carved deep into the rock of Oman, our path now rises, out of the earth and across oceans, to a very different landscape. Yet the pattern endures. Once again, stone has been shaped with intention. Once again, purpose is evident, but meaning remains just beyond reach. High in the Peruvian Andes, near the modern city of Huánuco, the air thins and cools. The land here is dramatic and uneven, framed by steep slopes and wide skies. At first, the ruins of Kotosh appear modest. Low stone walls, circular and rectangular platforms, partially buried by time. There is no towering monument, no obvious grandeur, but as with so many ancient sites, scale is not the measure of significance. Kotosh is one of the oldest known ceremonial centers in the Americas, dating back to at least 3000 BCE, possibly earlier. Long before the rise of the Inca, before written history in this region, people gathered here to build something enduring. Excavations have revealed a series of superimposed temples, rebuilt again and again over centuries, each new structure carefully placed atop the old. Among these, one chamber stands apart, the Temple of the Crossed Hands. Inside a small enclosed room, two sculpted arms emerge from the wall, one left, one right, crossed at the wrists. They are life-sized, modeled in clay and stone, positioned at chest height. No face accompanies them, no body, just the gesture, preserved in silence for thousands of years. Mainstream archaeology interprets Kotosh as a religious complex used for ritual gatherings, offerings, and communal ceremonies. The temples show evidence of controlled fires, ash layers, and ventilation systems that allowed smoke to circulate without suffocating those inside. This suggests ritual burning, perhaps of offerings, perhaps symbolic acts tied to renewal or transformation. The repeated rebuilding of the temples is often explained as a form of ritual renewal itself. Old structures were intentionally buried, not abandoned, and new ones erected above them. This practice implies reverence for the past, rather than replacement, a continuity of belief that stretched across generations. And yet, questions remain. The Temple of the Crossed Hands has no clear parallel in known Andean iconography of its time. What did the gesture mean? Was it a symbol of duality, left and right, earth and sky, life and death? A sign of unity, protection, or submission? Or did it represent something more abstract, now stripped of context? Equally intriguing is the architectural sophistication. The fire control systems within the temples show a practical understanding of airflow, pressure, and heat management. These were not accidental features. They were engineered. For a society without metal tools or written plans, the precision is striking. Who designed these spaces? Were they built by specialized ritual architects, their knowledge passed orally? Or did the builders follow rules derived from long observation, trial refined into tradition? Some researchers note that Kotosh appears suddenly in the archaeological record with many of its defining features already established. There is little evidence of experimental precursors nearby. This has led to cautious speculation. Was Kotosh influenced by earlier, yet undiscovered sites? Or does it represent a cultural leap whose origins lie elsewhere, hidden beneath layers still untouched? More speculative interpretations drift further. The crossed hands, some suggest, could be a symbolic language rather than decoration, a sign meant to be read rather than seen. Others wonder whether the enclosed, fire-lit chambers were designed to alter perception, using darkness, smoke, and heat to induce ritual states of awareness. These ideas remain unproven, but they persist because the architecture invites them. Kotosh offers no inscriptions, no direct explanations. Its builders left stone, gesture, and repetition, but no words. By the time later Andean civilizations emerged, the original meaning of the site may already have faded. What remained was the structure itself, respected enough to be preserved, but no longer fully understood. Today, the ruins sit quietly against the mountain air. Wind moves through broken walls. Light falls where fire once burned. Archaeologists continue to study the layers, the materials, the sequence of construction, but the inner logic of the place resists certainty. Like the underground tombs of Oman and the industrial landscapes of Jordan, Kotosh challenges a familiar assumption that ancient societies advanced slowly, simply, predictably. Instead, it suggests something more complex. Moments of deep insight, ritual precision, and architectural confidence that appear early, persist briefly, and then dissolve into silence. As we stand before the crossed hands, frozen mid-gesture across millennia, one question lingers quietly. How many ancient ideas, carefully built, deeply felt, are still present in stone, waiting for a language we have yet to recover? From the highlands of Peru, where Kotosh rises as a silent witness to ritual and belief, our journey now sweeps across the Mediterranean to the rugged hills of southeastern Spain. Once again, stone has been shaped with purpose. Once again, structures endure, hinting at knowledge and intent that modern observers struggle to fully comprehend. Here, the story is one of defense, community, and the quiet persistence of human ingenuity. La Bastida sits atop a steep, commanding hill in the Murcia region, its walls rising sharply from the rocky terrain. From a distance, the settlement appears almost to merge with the landscape itself, as if the builders intended it to be inseparable from the land. The structures are compact, organized, and precise. Houses, storage areas, streets, and most notably, fortifications that dominate the hilltop. Massive walls, thick and carefully constructed, curve along the natural contours, punctuated by towers and bastions that command every approach. The placement alone suggests a society keenly aware of strategy, protection, and observation. Archaeologists date La Bastida to the Bronze Age, around 2200 to 1550 BCE. It is one of the most significant fortified settlements of the Elargar culture, a society known for its metallurgical expertise and complex social organization. Excavations reveal meticulously planned streets, densely packed dwellings, and evidence of storage systems capable of sustaining the population through sieges. Weapons, tools, and ceremonial artifacts suggest that this was both a defensive stronghold and a center of social and economic activity. Yet even in these detailed findings, mysteries persist. The defensive structures display remarkable uniformity in construction, with walls often exceeding 2 meters in thickness and built from carefully cut stone blocks fitted with astonishing precision. No mortar binds some of these walls, yet they have endured millennia, resisting earthquakes and erosion that have claimed less robust constructions elsewhere. How did a Bronze Age society achieve such precision, and with what tools? The settlement's layout also raises questions. Streets and houses appear standardized, almost modular, hinting at urban planning principles that seem unexpectedly sophisticated for the time. Some researchers suggest that La Bastida reflects centralized control, a ruling authority coordinating labor, design, and resource distribution. But the scale of coordination, the engineering know-how, and the foresight required remain difficult to explain fully. Another enigma lies in the positioning of the fortifications themselves. Towers and walls align with sightlines across valleys and neighboring hills, suggesting a deep understanding of visual coverage and strategic advantage. Could these defenses have been part of a larger network of fortified settlements across the region, communicating threats and controlling trade routes? Or do they reflect isolated genius, born from generations of trial and necessity? Speculative theories quietly circulate among scholars and enthusiasts alike. Some propose that La Bastida's walls are not merely defensive, but also symbolic, intended to project power and social hierarchy as much as to repel attackers. Others point to evidence of metallurgical sophistication, bronze production, tool specialization, as hints that these communities possessed knowledge and techniques that were, in some respects, advanced beyond conventional expectations. And then there is what cannot be explained by the material record alone. The social cohesion required to maintain such a settlement, the knowledge transmitted across generations, and the apparent sudden appearance of complex urban planning without clear precursors. Was this the product of gradual evolution, or a moment of concentrated innovation that left little trace elsewhere? Today, La Bastida remains partially excavated. Its walls, streets, and towers speak quietly across centuries, offering both answers and new questions. Archaeologists continue to study the site using modern techniques, yet the more we uncover, the more we realize how much remains unknown. Standing at the edge of the hilltop, overlooking valleys once patrolled by its inhabitants, one cannot help but wonder how much of La Bastida's design was practical, and how much was visionary. And beyond what is visible, what other layers of knowledge, strategy, or innovation lie hidden, waiting to be rediscovered? From the fortified hilltops of La Bastida, where Bronze Age stone and human ingenuity merge in a delicate balance of strategy and labor, our journey moves north across the rugged terrain of the European continent, to a landscape where time seems to fold in on itself. Here, stone speaks in silence, not of defense or ritual, but of memory, of life, death, and the desire to endure across millennia. On the windswept coast of Brittany, France, a low hill rises from fields of grass and wildflowers. At first glance, it seems unremarkable. Gentle slopes, scattered stones, and the ever-present Atlantic breeze shaping the landscape. Yet at its summit lies one of the oldest and most enigmatic monuments in Western Europe, the Cairn of Barnenez. From a distance, the structure appears as a broad mound, its contours blending with the natural hill. Step closer, and the human hand becomes evident. Massive stone slabs, some weighing several tons, have been stacked and aligned to form long corridors, chambers, and passageways. The cairn stretches over 70 meters in length, its height modest yet imposing against the horizon. Barnenez is not a solitary monument. It is part of a broader tradition of megalithic architecture that flourished in northwestern Europe during the Neolithic period, roughly 4,800 to 4000 BCE. But even within this context, the cairn is extraordinary. Archaeologists have determined that it contains multiple burial chambers, some constructed sequentially over generations. The sheer scale of the undertaking is staggering. Estimates suggest that thousands of tons of stone were quarried, transported, and placed with precision using only the simple tools and techniques available at the time. The mainstream interpretation frames Barnenez as a collective tomb, a site for interring the dead, and a focal point for communal identity and ritual. Excavations have revealed human remains, pottery fragments, polished stone tools, and traces of offerings. The construction demonstrates knowledge of structural stability, with corbelled ceilings and passageways carefully angled to prevent collapse. It is, by conventional standards, an incredible achievement for a society without written language or advanced machinery. And yet, the cairn continues to provoke questions that simple explanations cannot fully answer. Some chambers at Barnenez are aligned in ways that hint at astronomical observation. Certain passages appear oriented toward the rising sun during the winter solstice, while others may correspond to lunar cycles. Was this intentional, a means of linking the living with cosmic rhythms? Or is it coincidence, imposed retrospectively by human desire to find patterns? The size and weight of the stones themselves demand consideration. How did Neolithic communities move massive slabs across uneven terrain, sometimes over considerable distances? Reconstructions suggest that ramps, rollers, and sheer human effort were likely used, yet the precision with which each block was placed hints at planning and coordination that borders on the sophisticated. Could there have been knowledge, lost to time, about leverage, balance, and structural engineering that exceeded what we typically attribute to Neolithic societies? The repetition of chambers, stacked and extended over time, also invites reflection. Each addition required careful integration with what came before, a structural and symbolic layering that conveys continuity and intentionality. Were these expansions purely functional, accommodating growing populations or new generations? Or did they hold ritual significance, a physical manifestation of ancestry, memory, or even a form of social hierarchy? Speculative interpretations have emerged around these enduring mysteries. Some observers suggest that megalithic builders possessed insights into acoustics, geometry, or astronomy that are difficult to quantify today. Others wonder whether the cairn served dual purposes: not only a burial site, but also a place of ceremonial observance, initiation, or celestial alignment. Local folklore and later myths, though centuries removed, often describe ancient builders with extraordinary knowledge, shaping stone as if guided by forces beyond ordinary understanding. While these ideas remain unproven, they resonate because Barnenez itself defies easy categorization. Modern technology offers new glimpses into its secrets. Ground-penetrating radar and 3D mapping reveal hidden chambers, construction layers, and subtle shifts in the mound's structure. Even so, each discovery leads to new questions. How were the chambers originally conceived, and how did successive generations preserve, alter, or reinterpret their meaning? What motivated communities to invest immense labor into structures that would outlast their creators by thousands of years? Walking along the passageways today, one can feel the weight of time pressing against the stone. The chambers are dark, cool, and echo softly with the footsteps of those who dare to enter. Outside, wind sweeps across the fields and the Atlantic coast, indifferent to the human effort embedded in the cairn. Yet the monument persists, silent, immovable, and profoundly deliberate. Barnenez is a reminder that the Neolithic mind, though distant from our own, was capable of extraordinary vision. It challenges assumptions about technological limits, societal organization, and the ways humans interacted with both earth and sky. Every stone is a question. Every corridor is a whisper across millennia. And as we stand before this ancient mound, the thought lingers. How much of humanity's early mastery of stone, space, and cosmic observation remains hidden, buried not just beneath Barnenez, but beneath countless landscapes around the world, waiting for eyes patient enough and minds curious enough to perceive it? From the windswept coasts of Brittany, where the Cairn of Barnenez rises as a silent testament to Neolithic ingenuity, our journey now crosses the Atlantic to the rugged highlands of central Mexico. Once again, we encounter stone shaped with intent, structures that speak across millennia of human ambition, organization, and knowledge, yet leave us grasping for understanding. Here, in the dry, elevated lands of Zacatecas, lies La Quemada, a citadel whose walls and terraces hint at a society capable of far more than our assumptions often allow. La Quemada stretches across a rocky hilltop, its silhouette stark against the pale sky. From a distance, it appears as a fragmented mass of stone, terraces stacked like steps on the hill, stairways ascending toward what might have been ceremonial platforms, and defensive walls curving to embrace the ridge. Yet, as one approaches, the complexity of the site becomes clear. Buildings are arranged with apparent purpose. Passageways and plazas suggest both functional and symbolic organization. Every level of the citadel seems meticulously considered, as if the builders were orchestrating the movement of people as carefully as the placement of stone. Archaeologists date La Quemada to roughly 300 to 1200 CE, during a period when the region was home to numerous complex societies, though documentation is sparse. The site is traditionally linked to the so-called Chichimeca or other pre-Columbian groups, though its precise cultural affiliation remains uncertain. Excavations reveal evidence of fortifications, residential areas, ceremonial structures, and, notably, a large ball court, indicating both defense and ritual activity. Yet the citadel defies simple categorization. Its layout does not conform neatly to contemporary urban centers of the region, and its construction methods remain difficult to replicate even today. Mainstream explanations focus on La Quemada as a defensive stronghold, likely responding to conflicts or the need to control trade routes. Massive walls, some stretching hundreds of meters, suggest strategic foresight. The arrangement of terraces and stairways appears designed to channel movement, an early example of urban planning serving both protection and communal function. Evidence of obsidian tools, pottery, and metal artifacts indicates that inhabitants were skilled in multiple crafts, supporting a society with both technological capability and social organization. And yet, questions abound. The sheer scale of construction is astonishing. Terraces cut deeply into solid rock, walls built from large, precisely fitted stones, stairways engineered to withstand centuries of erosion. How were these feats achieved without iron tools or wheeled transport? How was labor coordinated across generations in a landscape that is steep, arid, and challenging even by modern standards? The precision of construction suggests knowledge not only of engineering but of weight distribution, stability, and long-term durability. The citadel's defensive features add another layer of intrigue. Certain walls and towers are positioned to dominate sightlines over valleys and approaches, yet some terraces and platforms face directions that seem unrelated to immediate security. Were these alignments purely symbolic, marking celestial events or sacred landscapes? Could ritual and defense have been intertwined, each informing the design of the other? Speculative interpretations emerge quietly at the edges of scholarly discussion. Some researchers note that La Quemada shows evidence of sudden architectural leaps, advanced terraces and platforms appearing with little indication of incremental development. Could knowledge of construction have been imported from other regions, or preserved within a specialized group of builders whose expertise has since vanished? Others wonder if the citadel may have served multiple overlapping purposes: residence, ceremonial center, defensive bastion, and even a place of astronomical observation, its platforms capturing sun, moon, or planetary alignments for ritual purposes. There is also the mystery of abandonment. La Quemada appears to have been left suddenly, its terraces and walls standing in impressive order while the surrounding population disperses or declines. What prompted such a departure? Environmental pressures, conflict, or social transformation? Or was it a deliberate closure of a ceremonial or political center, leaving its knowledge and secrets largely intact but inaccessible? Walking through La Quemada today, one senses a rhythm imposed by the builders. Stairways climb with purpose. Terraces lead to hidden corners. Plazas open to views that must have been both practical and symbolic. Yet the voices of those who constructed this citadel are lost. Their intentions are inferred from stone, orientation, and remnants of daily life, but the full meaning remains elusive. Modern archaeology uses mapping, drone imaging, and geochemical analysis to understand La Quemada's construction, its population, and its possible connections to broader trade and cultural networks. Every discovery answers one question while deepening another. The citadel is at once a record of human achievement and a puzzle resisting final interpretation. Standing atop its terraces, gazing across valleys that once carried travelers, traders, and perhaps armies, one cannot help but reflect. La Quemada challenges our understanding of technological and social limits in the ancient world. How much knowledge of engineering, ritual, and communal organization was achieved here, only to vanish with its inhabitants? And beyond what we see, what deeper insights into early civilizations remain hidden, etched in stone, waiting for the patience, curiosity, and imagination needed to uncover them? From the rocky terraces of La Quemada, where stone stairways and massive walls hint at a society capable of engineering feats that continue to astonish, our journey moves northward into the arid landscapes of the northern Mexican desert. Here, the challenges of survival are as stark as the ingenuity required to meet them. In this harsh terrain lies Paquimé, also known as Casas Grandes, a site that reveals not only architectural sophistication, but a mastery of an element more precious than stone itself: water. At first glance, Paquimé appears as a cluster of earthen mounds rising above the flat desert plains of Chihuahua. The adobe walls, partially reconstructed, hint at multi-story buildings, expansive courtyards, and narrow passageways. But beneath the visible structures lies a hidden network that is less obvious, yet arguably more impressive. An elaborate system of channels, drains, and conduits designed to manage water in a landscape where rainfall is scarce and survival depends on control over every drop. Excavations reveal that Paquimé's inhabitants constructed subterranean channels that diverted water from distant springs, flowing beneath plazas, courtyards, and living spaces. These canals fed reservoirs and cisterns, ensuring that both domestic and agricultural needs could be met even during prolonged dry periods. Evidence shows the channels were precisely graded, constructed with tight joints, and occasionally lined with stone, a system capable of directing water with a level of precision remarkable for a society without metal tools or modern surveying equipment. Mainstream archaeology interprets Paquimé as a thriving regional center, flourishing between roughly 1200 and 1450 CE. Its water system is viewed as a practical solution to the desert environment, enabling urban density, agriculture, and communal life. The complex's design reflects sophisticated planning. Streets and terraces integrate with water channels, suggesting that hydraulic knowledge was central to the city's organization. These were not ad hoc arrangements, but intentional, durable engineering projects. Yet, as with many ancient structures, Paquimé's water systems present puzzles that resist easy explanation. Some channels extend far beyond the settlement's core, suggesting the movement of water over distances that would challenge modern construction without advanced planning. How did the builders determine precise gradients without instruments capable of measuring subtle differences in elevation? How did they maintain the system over generations in a shifting desert landscape, where erosion, floods, and sediment could easily disrupt such delicate structures? Even more intriguing is the system's integration with the city's social and ceremonial life. Water channels ran beneath central plazas, sometimes passing through or near key buildings whose function may have been ritual as well as domestic. Was this purely practical, or did water hold symbolic significance in the planning of Paquimé? Could its hidden flow beneath the streets and plazas have been part of rituals, a quiet reminder of control over nature, or even a sacred force channeled beneath the city itself? Speculative ideas arise when one considers the complexity and scale of the hydraulic system. Some suggest that knowledge of water engineering may have been concentrated among specialized experts whose methods were passed down orally or guarded as privileged knowledge. Others note that similar water management systems appear in other desert regions, yet the precision and integration at Paquimé seem unusually advanced for its time and context. Could this reflect lost technological insights, developed independently, or borrowed from earlier or distant cultures? The question of labor and organization also emerges. Constructing underground channels and lining them with stone would have required coordination, planning, and oversight. Who organized these projects? How were resources allocated? And how did the society balance such intensive labor with other needs, from agriculture to trade to ceremonial obligations? Modern researchers use aerial photography, ground-penetrating radar, and 3D modeling to map Paquimé's hidden water systems, revealing channels that remain largely intact beneath centuries of sediment. Yet despite these tools, the full extent and original design intentions are not entirely known. Some conduits remain partially unexplored, buried beneath modern fields or collapsed structures, hinting at a sophistication only partially understood. Standing at the edge of a courtyard today, where water once flowed invisibly beneath the ground, it is possible to sense the ingenuity embedded in every stone and channel. The builders of Paquimé solved problems that we still struggle with in arid urban planning, balancing resource scarcity, communal needs, and the unpredictability of desert environments. And yet, the system is also a reminder that much of their knowledge, their rationale, and perhaps even symbolic intentions, have been lost to time. Paquimé challenges modern assumptions about what ancient societies could achieve in environments we consider inhospitable. Its hidden water systems suggest not just engineering skill, but careful observation of natural forces, a capacity to plan over decades or centuries, and an understanding of the interaction between environment, community, and perhaps even ritual. As we trace the courses of these ancient channels, imagining the flow of water beneath the plazas, the question lingers. How much of humanity's early mastery over nature remains concealed, hidden in plain sight beneath streets, terraces, and walls? And what other lessons, practical, spiritual, or technological, lie buried, waiting for eyes patient and curious enough to uncover them? From the hidden channels of Paquimé, where water flowed unseen beneath plazas and terraces, sustaining life and civilization in the unforgiving northern deserts of Mexico, our journey now turns across continents and centuries, moving into the rugged valleys of Central Asia. Here, in modern-day Tajikistan, lie the remains of one of the earliest known urban centers of the region, a site that challenges our assumptions about the origins of complex architecture and settlement. This is Sarazm. Rising from the arid plains near the Zaravshan River, Sarazm's ruins appear at first as scattered mounds of mud brick and stone, sun-bleached and wind-worn. But as one approaches, patterns emerge. Foundations of large rectangular buildings, the outlines of streets, and clusters of enclosed courtyards suggest a planned settlement of surprising scale. Some structures are robust, their walls thick, carefully aligned, and reinforced with stone foundations. Others are smaller, perhaps workshops, storage areas, or domestic spaces. Together, they form a coherent urban landscape that speaks of organization, social hierarchy, and purpose. Archaeologists date Sarazm to the 4th and 3rd millennia BCE, making it one of Central Asia's earliest known urban settlements. Excavations reveal evidence of specialized industries, metallurgy, ceramics, and agriculture, alongside trade artifacts suggesting connections stretching as far as Mesopotamia and the Iranian plateau. Copper tools, ceramic vessels, and decorative objects point to a society not only surviving but thriving, capable of producing, trading, and sustaining a sizable population. Mainstream interpretations frame Sarazm as a proto-urban settlement, a center where early humans experimented with urban planning, craft specialization, and social organization. Streets were laid out with intention, buildings grouped into functional clusters, and walls erected not just for defense, but to organize and control the flow of people and goods. The architectural sophistication is striking. Some structures feature complex layouts, multi-room designs, and evidence of renovation over generations. For a society without iron tools or written records, this level of construction speaks to accumulated knowledge and experience. And yet, as with so many ancient sites, mysteries linger. Some of Sarazm's buildings display construction techniques that suggest advanced understanding of structural stability. Foundations incorporate stone and clay in ways that resist erosion and settling. Walls are remarkably straight, with corners formed at precise angles. How were these methods developed and transmitted across generations? Could there have been specialized knowledge of soil, weight distribution, and materials that has since vanished? Trade artifacts complicate the picture further. Obsidian, seashells, and other materials not local to the region appear throughout the site, implying long-distance exchange networks. How did people in this relatively remote valley manage such far-reaching connections, and how much of their knowledge about materials and construction may have traveled along with goods? There are also questions about urban planning itself. Some streets and buildings align with surprising regularity, hinting at deliberate geometrical or symbolic design. Were these alignments purely practical, facilitating traffic, drainage, or access? Or did they reflect a more abstract or ritual logic, a spatial manifestation of belief systems, cosmology, or social hierarchy? Speculative interpretations emerge when considering Sarazm's sudden appearance in the archaeological record as a relatively advanced settlement. Some researchers suggest that certain architectural features, stone foundations, multi-room layouts, and large communal structures, appear fully developed with little evidence of incremental evolution nearby. Could this indicate knowledge transferred from earlier, yet undiscovered settlements? Or does it point to moments of concentrated innovation, where social, economic, and environmental pressures converged to produce urban sophistication almost spontaneously? The integration of craft and architecture also invites reflection. Metallurgical workshops appear alongside domestic spaces, suggesting that production, habitation, and perhaps ritual practice were closely intertwined. Were these industrial spaces designed with environmental control in mind, regulating heat, smoke, or access in ways we are only beginning to understand? The careful placement of storage areas, kilns, and living quarters hints at planning that anticipates not just immediate needs but long-term sustainability. Modern archaeological techniques, 3D mapping, soil analysis, and geophysical surveys have revealed subterranean features, foundation lines, and traces of structures still buried beneath centuries of sediment. Yet, despite these insights, the original intentions, methods, and full complexity of Sarazm remain partly elusive. How much knowledge was encoded in the placement of buildings, the layering of materials, and the circulation of people? How much has been lost, waiting quietly beneath the surface for discovery? Walking among Sarazm's ruins today, one senses a rhythm imposed by those long-gone inhabitants. Streets and courtyards guide the gaze and the imagination, suggesting a society capable of coordination, foresight, and an understanding of their environment that feels, at times, advanced beyond expectation. Yet the voices behind this achievement remain silent, leaving only stone and earth to convey their legacy. Sarazm, like Paquimé and La Quemada before it, challenges assumptions about what early human societies could achieve. Its architectural remains hint at urban planning, engineering knowledge, and social organization that rival contemporaneous centers elsewhere in the world. Every wall, foundation, and workshop is a question in itself. Every street, terrace, and buried feature whispers of understanding lost to time. As we trace the contours of Sarazm, considering the labor, ingenuity, and knowledge embedded in its architecture, one question lingers quietly. How much of human capability, urban, technological, and social, has been hidden, unrecorded, or lost, waiting in distant valleys and forgotten landscapes for someone to recognize its significance? From the urban layouts of Sarazm, where early Central Asian builders shaped streets, workshops, and homes with remarkable precision, our journey now moves south across the Asian subcontinent to the arid landscapes of India's western coast. Here, in the harsh terrain of the Rann of Kutch, we encounter a civilization whose ingenuity transformed water scarcity into a structured, reliable system of survival. This is Dholavira, one of the most sophisticated settlements of the ancient Indus Valley civilization. At first glance, Dholavira rises from the flat, salt-encrusted plains as a series of stone and mud brick mounds. The remains of walls, platforms, and reservoirs create a geometric pattern that is immediately striking. Unlike many ancient cities that rely on natural rivers or seasonal rainfall, Dholavira's inhabitants engineered a highly controlled water management system with reservoirs, channels, and embankments designed to capture, store, and distribute water in a region prone to extreme dryness. Even today, the remnants of these reservoirs convey a sense of scale and precision that is difficult to comprehend. Archaeologists date Dholavira to roughly 2600 to 1900 BCE, making it contemporaneous with other major Indus Valley sites like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. Yet Dholavira stands apart in the ingenuity and complexity of its hydraulic engineering. Large reservoirs were strategically placed within the city, interconnected by channels designed to control the flow of rainwater and seasonal runoff. The stonework is meticulous. Channels are aligned to maintain gradients, reservoirs are lined to reduce seepage, and overflow systems indicate careful planning for both abundance and scarcity. In essence, the city itself became a living mechanism for water regulation. Mainstream interpretations view these systems as practical solutions for urban sustainability. Dholavira's reservoirs ensured that a dense population could survive in a semi-arid environment, supporting both domestic use and irrigation for agriculture. The organization of the city, with clearly divided areas for habitation, administration, and storage, demonstrates an understanding of urban planning integrated with environmental control. For a society without iron tools, written records beyond seals, or modern surveying techniques, the precision and durability of these structures is remarkable. Yet, as with many ancient feats, mysteries endure. Some reservoirs are constructed with massive stone slabs weighing several tons, precisely placed without mortar, and aligned to gradients that channel water efficiently across long distances. How were these weights managed? What methods allowed the builders to achieve such accurate slopes in an era lacking advanced measurement tools? The level of foresight required suggests not only technical skill, but also long-term planning, anticipating both seasonal variation and population growth. The city's hydraulic network also raises questions about social organization. Coordinating the construction, maintenance, and management of multiple reservoirs and channels would have required central oversight. Was there an administrative hierarchy dedicated specifically to water management? How was knowledge transmitted to successive generations to maintain such a sophisticated system? These practical challenges hint at a society deeply attuned to both engineering and collective responsibility. Speculative interpretations invite further reflection. Some researchers note that Dholavira's layout demonstrates an almost ritualized approach to water, with reservoirs positioned near central plazas and ceremonial areas. Could the water have served not only practical purposes, but also symbolic or spiritual functions, representing abundance, purification, or divine favor? The careful symmetry and integration of hydraulic features within the city may suggest that water management was as much a cultural or religious act as a technical one. There is also the question of technological innovation. The precision of stone cutting, alignment, and interconnection of reservoirs is extraordinary. Some suggest that Dholavira's engineers possessed specialized knowledge, lost over millennia, about hydrology, civil engineering, and urban planning that rivals modern understanding in its efficiency and durability. How much of this knowledge was empirical, developed over centuries of observation and experimentation? And how much might have been guided by principles or insights that we no longer recognize? Modern archaeologists continue to study Dholavira using satellite imagery, 3D modeling, and geochemical analysis, revealing the hidden complexity of the city's reservoirs and channels. Even now, not all of the system has been fully explored. Some subterranean channels remain buried, some reservoirs partially obscured by centuries of sedimentation. Each discovery answers a question while raising several more, hinting at the depth of knowledge required to construct a city that thrived in one of India's most challenging environments. Standing at the edge of a vast, stone-lined reservoir, the mind is drawn to the ingenuity and foresight required to create such a system. Rainwater, seasonal floods, and the demands of daily life were all anticipated, contained, and managed by hands long vanished. Dholavira demonstrates that ancient societies were capable not only of architectural and urban innovation, but also of environmental mastery, a sophistication that allowed them to thrive where survival was far from guaranteed. And yet, as we trace the contours of the reservoirs and channels, one question lingers. How much of this knowledge has been lost, not just in Dholavira, but across the ancient world? How many other societies engineered solutions so precise, so advanced, that they challenge our modern assumptions about the limits of early civilization? In the still waters of these ancient reservoirs, the past whispers of ingenuity we are only beginning to comprehend, inviting us to wonder what remains hidden, waiting for the curious and patient to discover it. From the reservoirs of Dholavira, where ancient engineers transformed scarcity into abundance, our journey now follows the thread of human ingenuity across continents once more, this time to the wind-swept plains and rocky escarpments of Azerbaijan. Here, the landscape is both stark and dramatic. Undulating hills, jagged cliffs, and dry riverbeds that stretch toward the Caspian Sea. Amid this terrain lies Gobustan, a region whose stone holds whispers of human activity stretching back tens of thousands of years, offering a glimpse into civilizations whose skill and understanding continue to provoke wonder. At first glance, Gobustan seems almost empty, a barren plateau of ochre and gray rock, cracked and weathered by millennia of sun, wind, and rain. But as one moves closer, the landscape reveals its secrets. Scattered petroglyphs etched into stone, the remnants of dwellings, and clusters of circular and rectangular stone structures whose purposes remain partially elusive. The walls, often formed from uncut stones, carefully stacked, create enclosures, passages, and platforms. Some are arranged in patterns that suggest more than mere shelter. They hint at communal gathering, ceremonial use, or strategic observation of the surrounding terrain. Mainstream archaeology dates Gobustan's human occupation to a remarkably long span, from the Upper Paleolithic through the Bronze Age and into later periods. The stone structures themselves are generally attributed to early pastoral and agricultural communities, providing shelter, animal pens, and rudimentary defensive enclosures. Yet these practical interpretations only partially capture the site's mystery. The scale and precision of some enclosures are striking. Stones are carefully positioned, sometimes forming concentric circles or elongated platforms aligned along sight lines. How were these structures planned and executed with such consistency, without written records or advanced measurement tools? In several locations, the enclosures appear deliberately aligned with natural features, rivers, hills, or even distant rock formations, raising questions about whether these alignments were practical, symbolic, or both. Gobustan is perhaps best known for its thousands of rock engravings, depicting animals, hunting scenes, human figures, and abstract symbols. These petroglyphs suggest a sophisticated symbolic or ritual culture. Some researchers propose that the placement of stone structures may have been linked to these symbolic landscapes, integrating the built environment with spiritual or astronomical considerations. Could the enclosures have served as ceremonial spaces, stages for ritual performance, or observation points aligned with celestial events? The site's water sources add another layer of intrigue. Gobustan sits in a semi-arid environment, yet many structures are positioned near ephemeral streams or natural cisterns carved into rock. Was water a guiding factor in the placement of these stone structures? Did the builders possess an intimate knowledge of hydrology, knowing precisely where seasonal waters would accumulate and how to harness them for human and livestock use? Speculative interpretations have also arisen regarding Gobustan's complexity. Some observers note the repeated architectural motifs and structural uniformity across a wide area, suggesting cultural continuity and knowledge transmission over centuries. Could these patterns indicate specialized groups of builders or planners with skills beyond what is usually attributed to prehistoric societies? Were there social or ritual hierarchies responsible for ensuring the precision and coherence of these constructions? Even the most basic elements of the structures provoke questions. Many walls are not merely functional. They seem intentionally placed to divide, channel, or frame space in ways that imply planning beyond simple survival. Certain enclosures appear to interact with natural rock outcroppings, as if the builders were designing in dialogue with the landscape rather than imposing upon it. What knowledge guided these decisions? What principles, structural, aesthetic, or symbolic, were understood and applied thousands of years before modern architecture emerged? Modern archaeological techniques, including aerial surveys, 3D mapping, and geochemical analysis, have revealed previously hidden features, subsurface foundations, hearths, and traces of human activity extending far beyond the immediately visible structures. Even with these tools, the full purpose and meaning of Gobustan's stone enclosures remain elusive. Some channels and stone alignments remain unexplored or partially buried, hinting at a sophistication yet to be fully appreciated. Walking among the scattered stones today, one senses the rhythm of lives long gone. Structures are silent, yet their careful arrangement speaks to a society capable of observation, planning, and execution on a scale that challenges conventional assumptions. Petroglyphs look out over enclosures and plains, connecting human creativity, memory, and environment in ways we are only beginning to understand. Gobustan, like Dholavira and Sarazm before it, confronts us with questions about human capability. Its stone structures hint at knowledge of environment, materials, and social organization far beyond what might be expected for their era. Every wall, enclosure, and channel is a deliberate act. Every alignment and placement is a question posed to the modern observer. As we stand on the rocky plateaus, tracing the contours of enclosures and imagining the lives that once moved among them, one thought persists. How much of humanity's early ingenuity, its architecture, engineering, and understanding of space, remains hidden in stone and landscape? And beyond what we can see, what deeper layers of knowledge, ritual, or design await discovery in the silent stretches of Gobustan? From the windswept plains and rock-carved structures of Gobustan, where ancient hands shaped stone with purpose and etched the memories of life across millennia, our journey now moves southward into the arid deserts of eastern Iran. Here, along the edge of the Sistan Basin, lies Shahr-e Sukhteh, the burnt city, a settlement whose platforms and terraces hint at architectural sophistication and urban planning that challenge our modern assumptions about early civilization. At first glance, the ruins of Shahr-e Sukhteh appear as a vast sprawl of mounds and low walls, sun-bleached and eroded by thousands of years of wind, sand, and salt. Yet beneath the surface lies a remarkable pattern: raised platforms, some measuring tens of meters across, carefully leveled and constructed from mud brick and compacted earth. These terraces rise in deliberate sequences, forming a network of bases that may have supported buildings, ceremonial spaces, or functional areas. Their design conveys intention, geometry, and a deep understanding of structural stability in a challenging environment. Archaeologists date Shahr-e Sukhteh to roughly 3,200 to 1,800 BCE, making it contemporary with some of the earliest urban centers in the Middle East and South Asia. Excavations reveal evidence of long-term habitation, including residential compounds, workshops, streets, and public spaces. The platformed architecture is particularly striking. Many appear elevated, perhaps to protect structures from seasonal floods, wind erosion, or even to denote social or ritual significance. The use of mud brick and compacted earth in such precise arrangements speaks to both technical skill and accumulated knowledge over generations. Mainstream interpretations see the platforms as foundations for dwellings, storage facilities, and possibly ceremonial buildings. Their scale and number suggest an organized society with centralized planning and a division of labor capable of sustaining construction projects over decades. Evidence of metallurgy, craft specialization, and long-distance trade underscores a community that was both technologically capable and socially complex. Yet, as with other ancient sites we have explored, Shahr-e Sukhteh invites more questions than answers. The precision of the platforms is remarkable. Walls and terraces are level, corners are often orthogonal, and foundations are carefully reinforced. How was such uniformity achieved without modern surveying tools? Did the builders rely on empirical knowledge passed through generations, or was there a more formalized system of measurement and planning lost to history? And what of the materials themselves? Mud brick and earth can be fragile, yet these structures have endured for millennia, suggesting techniques that ensured both stability and longevity. The arrangement of the platforms also raises intriguing possibilities. Some are grouped in clusters that suggest social hierarchy or functional zoning, while others are isolated, aligned in ways that may relate to solar or celestial events. Could these elevated spaces have served as ceremonial platforms, observation points, or even early astronomical instruments? Were they purely practical, or did symbolism guide their construction as much as utility? Evidence of water management further complicates our understanding. Shahr-e Sukhteh sits in a semi-arid floodplain, yet the city's layout implies careful planning to control water flow, protect buildings from seasonal inundation, and sustain agriculture. Channels, wells, and drainage systems appear integrated with platform placement. How much environmental knowledge was embedded in these architectural decisions, and how was it maintained over generations? Speculative interpretations also emerge when considering the sudden sophistication apparent in some of Shahr-e Sukhteh's structures. Certain platforms seem fully formed with little evidence of incremental development nearby. Could knowledge of construction and urban planning have been transmitted from earlier or distant settlements? Or does this reflect a localized leap in engineering skill and social organization? And if so, what social or cultural pressures drove this leap? There is also the question of ritual and symbolism. Some platforms are found adjacent to burials, workshops, or open courtyards that may have served communal purposes. Could these elevated areas have demarcated sacred spaces, marking the intersection of daily life, governance, and ritual? Were they stages for ceremonies, marketplaces, or perhaps observatories for tracking the sun, moon, and stars? The lack of written records leaves room for imagination, but the architecture itself hints at layered functionality, combining practicality with symbolic or ceremonial intent. Modern archaeological methods, remote sensing, stratigraphic excavation, and geochemical analysis have revealed additional hidden features. Platforms beneath collapsed structures, streets oriented along precise grids, and deposits of craft materials integrated into the urban fabric. Yet despite these insights, the reasoning behind the city's platformed design remains elusive. How much knowledge, engineering, organizational, and symbolic, was encoded in the very layout of Shahr-e Sukhteh? Walking across these terraces today, one feels the deliberate presence of human intention, as though the city itself were a carefully orchestrated composition in earth and brick. Each platform, wall, and alignment speaks to foresight, coordination, and a sophisticated understanding of both environment and community. Yet the builders are long gone, leaving only their enduring creations to pose questions that transcend millennia. Shahr-e Sukhteh, like Gobustan, Dholavira, and Sarazm before it, challenges assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies. Its platforms and urban design hint at knowledge that balances technical skill, environmental mastery, and social organization. Every terrace is both an achievement and a puzzle. Every alignment and elevation is a question waiting to be understood. As we trace the contours of these ancient platforms, contemplating the lives and ingenuity of those who built them, one thought persists. How much of humanity's early architectural and engineering knowledge remains hidden, layered beneath ruins, waiting for us to uncover the principles, intentions, and innovations that allowed civilizations to thrive far beyond what we once imagined possible? From the sun-baked terraces of Shahr-e Sukhteh, where ancient engineers elevated platforms to shape urban life and ritual practice in the arid Iranian floodplains, our journey now sweeps southeast across continents, to the tropical shores of the Malay Peninsula. Here, in the humid wetlands of northern Malaysia, lies Sungai Batu, an ancient port city whose remnants challenge our assumptions about early maritime civilization in Southeast Asia. Unlike inland settlements that relied on arid engineering, Sungai Batu speaks of a society attuned to water, trade, and the rhythms of tides, whose technological and organizational achievements remain partially obscured beneath centuries of river sediment and vegetation. At first sight, Sungai Batu is an unassuming landscape. flat plains crisscrossed by streams, patches of dense mangrove, and shallow waterways that feed into the Straits of Malacca. Yet hidden within this marshy terrain are the traces of stone and brick structures that indicate a complex harbor system, industrial areas, and ceremonial centers. Massive stone walls, ancient jetty remnants, and brick kilns hint at a society that built not only for habitation, but for commerce, infrastructure, and maritime connectivity. Step closer, and the careful placement of foundations and alignment of pathways conveys deliberate urban planning, raising questions about the knowledge required to construct in such a challenging, flood-prone environment. Radiocarbon dating places Sungai Batu's peak around 4,500 years ago, making it potentially older than many contemporaneous maritime cities in the region. Archaeological findings indicate extensive iron smelting activity, suggesting that Sungai Batu was both a production hub and a trade center. Kilns, slag deposits, and tools reveal a society skilled in metallurgy, capable of producing materials in volume, while jetty structures and canals imply organized shipping and the management of goods and labor. This integration of industry and port infrastructure is remarkable, especially considering the technological constraints of the era. Mainstream interpretations describe Sungai Batu as an early urban industrial settlement, a port city linking inland iron production with maritime trade routes. Its waterways, some natural, others engineered, allowed boats to navigate inland channels, connecting the settlement to the wider region. The combination of production, transport, and habitation speaks to a sophisticated understanding of logistics, urban planning, and environmental management. Yet mysteries abound, complicating conventional explanations. The construction techniques themselves are puzzling. Stone foundations and brick structures are remarkably resilient, resisting erosion in an environment characterized by heavy rainfall, shifting riverbeds, and tidal influences. How were these foundations planned, leveled, and constructed to endure such conditions over millennia? What knowledge of materials, hydraulics, and soil stability guided the builders in creating structures that could withstand constant environmental stress? Even the scale of iron production invites questions. Large quantities of slag and remnants of smelting furnaces suggest industrial output beyond what might be expected for a local settlement of the time. How was labor organized to support sustained production while maintaining residential and commercial areas? Were there social hierarchies, specialized guilds, or centralized authority overseeing such complex coordination? The harbor system itself hints at an advanced understanding of water management. Canals and jetties appear deliberately aligned to optimize flow, prevent silting, and facilitate docking, even for vessels of considerable size. Could the builders of Sungai Batu have possessed technical insights into tidal behavior, sediment movement, and hydraulic engineering that rival our assumptions about early civilizations? And if so, how was such knowledge transmitted and maintained over generations? Speculative interpretations deepen the intrigue. Some researchers note that the settlement appears suddenly in the archaeological record, with fully developed infrastructure and urban organization, rather than gradually evolving from simpler villages. Could this indicate an influx of knowledge or technology from other maritime regions, perhaps transmitted through trade networks or cultural exchange? Or does it reflect a concentrated local innovation, where environmental necessity and social organization converge to produce a city of unexpected sophistication? Sungai Batu's integration of industrial, commercial, and ceremonial spaces also raises questions about ritual and symbolism. Some kilns and structures appear oriented in ways that suggest ceremonial or symbolic purposes, possibly connected to the river, the sea, or even celestial observations. Were these alignments practical, spiritual, or both? Could the flow of water, the placement of kilns, and the layout of the port itself have carried meaning beyond mere function? Modern archaeological surveys using aerial photography, sediment analysis, and magnetometry continue to reveal hidden features. Submerged foundations, channels, and industrial areas yet to be fully explored. Even now, much of Sungai Batu remains concealed beneath vegetation and soil, hinting at a settlement whose full scale and technological reach remain underestimated. Walking along the ancient riverbanks today, imagining vessels laden with iron, merchants negotiating trade, and workers tending kilns, one senses the deliberate intelligence embedded in every stone and channel. Sungai Batu was a city built to harness its environment, to link production with trade, and to endure in a challenging ecosystem. Yet its builders left no written records, and many of their methods remain a mystery, encoded only in the stones, channels, and remnants of smelting furnaces. Sungai Batu, like Shahr-e Sukhteh, Dholavira, and Sarazm before it, challenges our assumptions about the capabilities of early societies. It suggests mastery of water, urban planning, industrial production, and logistical coordination far beyond what we often attribute to civilizations of its time. Every kiln, channel, and foundation is both achievement and enigma. Every alignment and construction choice poses questions that echo across millennia. As we trace the contours of this ancient port, contemplating the knowledge, labor, and vision required to build it, one thought persists. How much of humanity's early ingenuity, engineering, urban planning, and industrial skill remains hidden beneath rivers, sediment, and centuries of obscurity? And beyond what is visible today, what deeper insights into early maritime civilization are waiting to be discovered, preserved in the quiet stones of Sungai Batu? From the tropical shores and hidden port structures of Sungai Batu, where ancient maritime engineers integrated waterways, kilns, and jetties with remarkable precision, our journey now returns to the heart of South Asia, into the fertile plains of the Indian subcontinent. Here lies Rakhigarhi, one of the largest and most enigmatic cities of the Indus Valley civilization, whose urban grid and systematic planning speak of a sophistication that continues to challenge our understanding of early urban development. At first sight, Rakhigarhi spreads across flat plains, its mounds rising subtly above the surrounding farmland. The earth appears ordinary, yet beneath the surface lies a meticulously designed cityscape. Excavations reveal streets laid out with surprising regularity, wide avenues intersecting at near-perfect right angles, and a network of residential blocks, granaries, and communal spaces that suggest careful urban planning. Even today, the geometric precision of the layout is striking, hinting at an understanding of organization, space, and civic life far beyond what one might expect for a city dating back over 4,500 years. Archaeologists date Rakhigarhi's occupation to roughly 3,300 to 1,900 BCE, contemporaneous with other major Indus cities like Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, and Dholavira. Yet Rakhigarhi distinguishes itself not only by its sheer size, covering an estimated 350 hectares, but also by the scale and integration of its urban planning. Evidence of fortifications, drains, water storage systems, and residential complexes suggests a society that understood not just the layout of streets, but the interplay between infrastructure, environment, and daily life. Mainstream interpretations emphasize Rakhigarhi as a model of early urbanism. Streets are straight and wide, lined with rectangular blocks that appear to have been systematically allocated. Drainage systems run beneath the roads, sophisticated enough to channel waste and rainwater away from homes. Large communal reservoirs and smaller wells indicate that water management was central to city planning, ensuring both hygiene and sustenance. The arrangement of buildings suggests zoning. Administrative areas, workshops, and residential quarters appear carefully segregated yet interconnected, reflecting a balance between communal oversight and private space. Yet, as with so many ancient sites, questions linger beneath the surface. The precision of Rakhigarhi's urban grid is remarkable. How was such alignment achieved without standardized measurement tools or written records for construction oversight? Were their surveying techniques now lost to time, or a system of apprenticeship and oral instruction capable of transmitting knowledge of geometry and proportion across generations? And how did planners account for topography, seasonal flooding, and water supply in a way that allowed the city to flourish for centuries? The city's water infrastructure raises equally compelling questions. Channels and drains were integrated directly into street layouts, requiring not only engineering foresight but also careful coordination during construction. Were these systems designed primarily for practical hygiene, or did they also reflect symbolic or ritual concerns? Could the careful management of water, its collection, flow, and containment, have held significance beyond mere survival, a reflection of cosmology or societal order? Rakhigarhi's scale also hints at social complexity. The city's layout implies centralized planning and labor organization capable of sustaining construction, maintenance, and governance over decades. Who held authority, and how were decisions regarding urban design enforced across such an expansive area? Were specialized guilds or administrative bodies responsible for supervising construction, water management, and civic order? The absence of direct textual records leaves these questions open, yet the enduring evidence in brick and stone suggests deliberate coordination. Speculative interpretations add further intrigue. Some researchers note subtle variations in block sizes, street widths, and platform elevations, implying possible social stratification or functional zoning beyond what is immediately obvious. Could certain sectors of the city have been reserved for elite families, religious activity, or workshops producing specialized goods for trade? How did Rakhigarhi integrate its urban population with regional trade networks, including distant settlements and resources? These questions hint at a level of civic and economic sophistication that challenges simple explanations. Modern techniques, satellite imaging, geophysical surveys, and 3D mapping have revealed hidden streets, buried structures, and traces of additional reservoirs, suggesting that the city's full extent may be even greater than currently estimated. Yet despite these technological advances, the reasoning behind Rakhigarhi's layout, the methods by which construction was managed, and the full scale of urban organization remain partially obscure. How much knowledge of engineering, logistics, and social planning was embedded in the city's design, and how much of that knowledge has been lost to time? Walking through Rakhigarhi today, imagining wide streets bustling with people, artisans working in workshops, and water flowing through carefully managed channels, one senses the deliberate intelligence encoded in every aspect of the urban grid. Every block, street, and drain speaks to foresight, planning, and a society capable of long-term organization, an achievement that resonates even across millennia. Rakhigarhi, like Sungai, Batu, Dholavira, and Shahr-e Sukhteh before it, forces us to reconsider assumptions about early human capability. Its urban grid suggests mastery of engineering, civic planning, and resource management far beyond what is often credited to civilizations of this period. Each alignment, each intersection, each structural decision is both an achievement and a mystery. Each reflects knowledge that may have been lost, yet continues to challenge us today. As we trace the contours of Rakhigarhi's streets and blocks, contemplating the vision and labor required to construct such a city, one thought endures. How much of early humanity's ingenuity, its architectural, technological, and social knowledge, remains hidden beneath layers of soil, waiting for patient observers to uncover, interpret, and finally comprehend? And beyond what we can see today, what other secrets of urban sophistication might lie buried, silently preserving lessons from a civilization that mastered complexity long before we did? From the meticulously aligned streets and residential blocks of Rakhigarhi, where urban planning and water management speak of a civilization far ahead of its time, our journey now moves westward to the rolling plains of central Anatolia. Here, amidst a landscape dotted with low hills and fertile river valleys, lies Çatalhöyük, a settlement whose roof-access architecture offers a glimpse into a way of life that challenges our conventional notions of domestic and communal space in the Neolithic era. At first glance, Çatalhöyük appears as a sprawling cluster of mud brick mounds, sun-baked and worn by millennia of erosion. Yet, as we draw closer, a startling detail emerges. There are virtually no streets in the traditional sense. Instead, the city seems to rise like a continuous patchwork of dwellings, their flat roofs forming a contiguous surface across the settlement. Access between homes was achieved by traversing these rooftops, often via ladders or narrow openings, creating a layered, interconnected urban plain that is at once practical, communal, and mysterious. Archaeologists date Çatalhöyük's peak occupation to roughly 7,500 to 5,700 BCE, making it one of the earliest known large-scale settlements in human history. Excavations reveal densely packed mud brick homes, each containing multiple rooms, hearths, storage spaces, and evidence of domestic life. Yet it is the rooftops themselves that captivate modern researchers. These raised plains functioned as streets, walkways, and social spaces, integrating circulation with habitation in a way that feels almost alien compared to conventional urban layouts. Mainstream interpretations suggest the roof access design served practical purposes. In a dense settlement without streets, movement above ground allowed people to navigate efficiently while maintaining privacy within homes. It also may have provided protection from flooding, pests, or invaders. The interconnected roofs encouraged social cohesion, allowing neighbors to communicate, observe, and interact across the settlement. Yet these practical explanations only partially capture the strangeness and sophistication of the design. The architectural choices at Çatalhöyük raise intriguing questions. How did inhabitants plan a city without streets, relying instead on rooftop mobility? What knowledge of structural integrity and material limitations informed the construction of interconnected roofs capable of bearing the weight of daily use over generations? Were ladders and rooftop openings placed according to practical necessity, or did symbolic, social, or even ritual considerations dictate their placement? Evidence suggests that roof access was not solely functional. Many homes contain installations, platforms, and artistic elements visible from the rooftop, hinting that these surfaces may have also been stages for ritual activity, observation, or domestic ceremonies. Murals, figurines, and wall niches suggest that life extended vertically, with the roof serving as both thoroughfare and communal space. Could the design of Çatalhöyük reflect a philosophy of urban life in which hierarchy, observation, and community were encoded in the very architecture itself? Speculative interpretations further deepen the mystery. Some researchers note that the rooftops may have been aligned to solar or seasonal events, with openings and pathways allowing sunlight to penetrate key areas during specific times of year. Could the architecture itself have functioned as a primitive calendar or observatory, blending utility with cosmology? Others wonder if the roof access system played a defensive role, creating a controlled circulation pattern that limited intrusion while allowing inhabitants to observe their surroundings from a higher vantage point. The uniformity and scale of the settlement also provoke reflection. Çatalhöyük spans dozens of hectares, with hundreds of closely packed homes exhibiting similar construction techniques. How was knowledge of roof construction, wall reinforcement, and spatial organization transmitted across the community? Was there centralized planning, or did these principles emerge organically through shared experience and careful observation? The absence of formal records leaves room for speculation, yet the coherence of the city's layout suggests sophisticated social coordination. Modern archaeological investigations, including 3D reconstructions and microscopic analysis of construction materials, reveal hidden details about the rooftops, evidence of repairs, layering of mud and straw for durability, and traces of past inhabitants' movement patterns. Yet despite these insights, the full reasoning behind the roof access design, the social logic it embedded, and the possible ceremonial or symbolic dimensions remain elusive. What cultural or practical imperatives drove a community to transform the very top of their homes into the primary public space, rather than conventional streets? Walking across reconstructed rooftops today, one senses a rhythm and logic carefully imposed upon daily life. Each platform, ladder, and opening carries the imprint of countless choices made over generations, reflecting a society that integrated habitation, mobility, and social interaction in ways that feel both alien and ingenious. It is a reminder that architecture can shape behavior, social relations, and even perception of space itself, lessons that modern urban planning is only beginning to fully appreciate. Çatalhöyük, like Rakhigarhi, Sungai, Batu, and Shahr-e Sukhteh before it, challenges our assumptions about what early societies were capable of achieving. Its roof-access architecture demonstrates advanced understanding of material science, social organization, and spatial planning, combined with a creative vision of urban life that transcends mere practicality. Every flat surface, every ladder, every opening is both a functional element and a question posed to the modern observer. As we trace the contours of these ancient rooftops, imagining people moving across the settlement, exchanging goods, performing rituals, or simply observing their neighbors, one question lingers. How much of early humanity's architectural ingenuity, its understanding of space, community, and the interplay between function and symbolism, remains hidden in settlements like Çatalhöyük, waiting to be recognized, studied, and understood? And beyond what is visible today, what other secrets of urban life, encoded in stone, mud, and imagination, lie just out of reach, whispering of a sophistication far ahead of its time? From the intricate roof-accessed homes of Çatalhöyük, where Neolithic inhabitants traversed the settlement above ground in a network of interconnected terraces, our journey now shifts northwest to the rugged hills of North Macedonia. Here, amidst rocky outcrops and sweeping panoramas, lies Kokino, a megalithic site whose precise alignment and elevated vantage points suggest not just settlement, but a profound understanding of the movements of the heavens. This is Kokino Megalithic Observatory, where stone meets sky in a dialogue that stretches back more than 4 millennia. The site sits atop a steep plateau, overlooking valleys carved by rivers and dotted with scattered forests. The terrain is harsh, exposed to the sun and wind, yet the stones arranged here indicate a deliberate and careful selection of location. Massive granite blocks are positioned with remarkable precision. Natural boulders and carved stones form viewing platforms, markers, and alignments that frame the horizon with startling clarity. From certain vantage points, the rising and setting sun, the moon's cycles, and the solstices can be observed, their positions framed by the stones in ways that hint at intentionality beyond mere chance. Archaeologists date Kokino to roughly 1800 BCE, though some estimates suggest activity here could have begun even earlier. Carbon dating of hearths, ceramics, and other artifacts indicate that the site functioned both as an observation point and as a ceremonial center. The alignment of stones with solar and lunar events is especially striking. From the upper terrace, observers can mark the first light of sunrise during solstices, track the moon's high and low points, and follow seasonal changes across the landscape, all using tools of stone and naked eye. Mainstream interpretations describe Kokino as an astronomical observatory used for calendrical and agricultural purposes. The careful placement of stones could have allowed ancient inhabitants to predict planting and harvesting seasons, anticipate lunar cycles, and schedule communal activities. It represents a level of scientific observation embedded within ritualized social practice, where the rhythms of nature informed both practical survival and cultural life. Yet mysteries persist, as with so many ancient constructions. The precision of Kokino's alignments raises fundamental questions. How did its builders achieve such accuracy without compasses, telescopes, or written mathematical systems? Did they rely solely on observation over generations, refining their measurements with experience, or was there an underlying system of geometry and calculation now lost to time? And why was this particular plateau chosen when other nearby hills could have provided similar elevation and visibility? The integration of ritual and observation further complicates our understanding. Kokino contains hearths, offering pits and platforms that may have been used for ceremonial purposes. Were these spaces purely functional, providing vantage points for observing the heavens, or did they also serve as stages for rituals tied to cosmology, social hierarchy, or spiritual belief? Could the movements of the sun and moon have been interpreted as messages or guidance, embedding the natural world within the cultural consciousness of the community? Speculative theories deepen the intrigue. Some researchers suggest that the site may have served multiple purposes beyond timekeeping, as a signal station, a territorial marker, or even a proto-educational space where knowledge of astronomy was transmitted orally to successive generations. Others ponder whether the alignments hint at lost knowledge of cycles and forces that governed both celestial and terrestrial life, a sophistication that may have been far greater than surviving artifacts can fully reveal. The scale and arrangement of Kokino also provoke reflection. Unlike smaller observation points, this site integrates multiple terraces, platforms, and sightlines across a complex landscape. How did its builders coordinate construction, placement, and use across such uneven terrain? Was there social specialization, with individuals dedicated to observation, construction, or ritual, ensuring the continuity and accuracy of measurements? And what symbolic meanings might have guided the selection of stone, orientation, and positioning? Modern surveys, including 3D mapping and satellite imagery, have revealed additional terraces and sightlines, suggesting that Kokino was part of a broader landscape of observation and habitation yet to be fully explored. Some features remain partially buried or obscured, waiting for careful excavation to reveal their purpose. Even now, we cannot fully reconstruct how daily life intertwined with observation, ritual, and community activity atop this exposed plateau. Walking across Kokino today, one feels a profound connection between human ingenuity and the cosmos. The stones, weathered but enduring, form lines and frames that allow the eye to follow the sun, moon, and horizon with astonishing clarity. Each block seems deliberately chosen and positioned, suggesting both patience and precision, and a world view in which understanding the heavens was inseparable from daily life. Kokino, like Çatalhöyük, Rakhigarhi, and Sungai Batu before it, challenges assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies. Its megalithic alignments reveal not just observational skill, but a conceptual framework linking environment, society, and celestial rhythms. Each platform, terrace, and sightline is both a technological achievement and an open question, inviting reflection on the knowledge and intentions of its builders. As we gaze across the valleys from Kokino's terraces, watching sunlight strike distant boulders and imagining observers marking solstices thousands of years ago, one question remains. How much of humanity's early understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and the integration of culture with environment remains hidden, encoded in stone and landscape? and what other observatories, rituals, or knowledge systems lie buried across ancient horizons, waiting for the patient eye to uncover their secrets. From the rocky terraces of Kokino, where ancient observers tracked the cycles of sun and moon with remarkable precision, our journey now crosses oceans to the arid coastal plains of northern Peru. Here, the windswept landscape conceals one of the largest pre-Columbian cities in the Americas, Chan Chan, the sprawling capital of the Chimu civilization. Within this vast adobe metropolis lie the inner compounds, walled precincts of imposing scale, intricate design, and enduring mystery, where every courtyard, passageway, and decorative relief hints at the ingenuity of a society that thrived over 6 centuries before the Spanish conquest. At first glance, Chan Chan's ruins stretch endlessly across the plains, their earthen walls sun-baked into shades of ochre and rust. Approaching the inner compounds, one is struck by their monumental scale. Walls towering over 6 meters high, enclosing vast courtyards and rooms arranged with geometrical precision. The adobe bricks, sun-dried and uniform in size, form intricate patterns, zigzags, waves, and lattices that are both decorative and functional, designed to stabilize massive structures in a seismic region. Within these compounds, narrow passageways lead to hidden chambers, plazas, and storage areas, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of spatial hierarchy and urban organization. Archaeologists date Chan Chan's construction to roughly 900 to 1470 CE, during the height of Chimu power. The inner compounds were the political and ceremonial heart of the city, housing elites, priests, and administrators. Yet these spaces were more than simple palaces. They were architectural statements of control, ritual, and cultural identity. Each wall, courtyard, and plaza appears deliberately oriented, guiding movement, defining private and public spaces, and perhaps reflecting cosmological beliefs. Mainstream interpretations emphasize the compound's dual functionality. They provided security, separating elite occupants from the broader population, while simultaneously serving as centers of administration, craft production, and ceremonial activity. Their scale reflects centralized authority, capable of mobilizing labor and resources on a massive scale. Yet even with these explanations, the precision and ingenuity of their design continue to captivate and puzzle researchers. The layout of the compounds raises immediate questions. How were the walls constructed to withstand not only their own weight, but also seasonal flooding, seismic activity, and centuries of wind erosion? The adobe, while durable when properly maintained, is vulnerable to weathering. Yet Chan Chan endured as the largest pre-industrial city in the Americas for hundreds of years. What construction techniques, knowledge of materials, and maintenance practices ensured this longevity in such a challenging environment? Even the interior organization provokes intrigue. Courtyards are often sunken or raised, passageways constricted or expanded, creating a controlled flow through space. Were these variations purely practical, to manage crowds, climate, or security? Or did they encode social hierarchy, ritual significance, or symbolic meaning? Some compounds contain hidden niches, platforms, and small rooms whose purposes remain speculative. Could they have been used for observation, offerings, or secretive ceremonies inaccessible to ordinary citizens? Decorative motifs carved and pressed into the adobe walls add further mystery. Stylized waves, fish, and geometric forms recur across compounds, suggesting symbolic systems of meaning. Were these motifs simply artistic expression, markers of lineage or authority, or did they convey ritualized instructions, astronomical knowledge, or calendrical information? The consistency of patterns across multiple compounds hints at a shared visual language, yet its full significance remains elusive. Speculative interpretations of Chan Chan's inner compounds highlight their enigmatic complexity. Some scholars suggest that the compounds were designed to manipulate movement and perception, guiding visitors through a choreographed sequence of courtyards, chambers, and ramps that reinforced social hierarchy and ritual experience. Others propose that subtle alignments with celestial events, sunrise, solstice, or lunar cycles, may have influenced the orientation of certain walls or plazas. Could these architectural choices represent an integration of urban planning, political power, and cosmology, encoding knowledge in the very fabric of the city? The sheer scale of the compounds also implies sophisticated logistical and organizational skills. Constructing massive walls, planning multi-level courtyards, and coordinating labor across a sprawling city required not only architectural knowledge, but also social cohesion, governance, and resource management. How did the Chimu organize workforces, supply materials, and maintain such precision over decades? And what cultural or technological knowledge was lost with the city's eventual decline, leaving only these silent earthen monuments to testify to their ingenuity? Modern archaeological methods, including remote sensing, drone mapping, and 3D reconstruction, continue to reveal hidden passageways, collapsed chambers, and previously unnoticed platforms. Even today, much of the inner compound's intricacy remains partially buried beneath centuries of wind-blown sand. Every excavation uncovers new questions about construction techniques, spatial design, and the social and ceremonial life of the city. Walking among the sun-warmed adobe walls, imagining the movement of priests, rulers, and citizens through courtyards and chambers, one senses a deliberate intelligence encoded in every brick and relief. The inner compounds of Chan Chan are not merely functional spaces. They are embodiments of power, ritual, and collective knowledge structured to endure and impress. Yet the reasoning behind every corridor, wall height, and decorative motif remains partially hidden, inviting us to wonder at the full sophistication of Chimu thought and design. Chan Chan, like Kokino, Çatalhöyük, and Rakhigarhi before it, challenges modern assumptions about what ancient civilizations could achieve. Its inner compounds demonstrate mastery of materials, urban planning, and symbolic architecture that resonates across centuries. Every wall, passage, and courtyard is a testament to deliberate design and careful observation of environment, society, and culture. Yet each also poses a question that continues to elude full explanation. As we trace the contours of these vast compounds, contemplating the hands that shaped the adobe, the social systems that organized labor, and the vision that guided construction, one thought persists. How much of humanity's early architectural, social, and symbolic knowledge remains buried, encoded in earth and stone? And beyond what is visible today, what other secrets of urban sophistication, ceremonial design, and cultural mastery wait patiently to be discovered within the inner sanctums of Chan Chan? From the sprawling inner compounds of Chan Chan, where adobe walls and labyrinthine courtyards speak to the ingenuity and ceremonial sophistication of the Chimu civilization, our journey now moves further into Peru's arid coastal plains, to the Paquimé region, a landscape dominated by massive clusters of earthen pyramids rising like silent sentinels against the horizon. These pyramids, some stretching over 30 meters high, form one of the largest pre-Hispanic monumental complexes in the Americas, a testament to architectural ambition and societal organization that continues to puzzle and inspire modern observers. At first glance, the Tukum pyramids appear as a series of low, weathered mounds, their contours softened by centuries of wind, rain, and vegetation. Yet, as one moves closer, the scale and precision of the constructions become undeniable. The pyramids are not isolated. They form clusters, each connected by ceremonial plazas, wide platforms, and causeways suggesting deliberate planning and integration into a complex urban and ritual landscape. The earthen structures, constructed from compacted adobe and clay, rise in stepped terraces, with flat tops that may have supported temples, altars, or observation platforms. The alignment and spacing of the pyramids hint at an understanding of spatial relationships, sightlines, and possibly astronomical or cosmological significance. Archaeological studies date the Tukume complex to roughly 1000 to 1375 CE, primarily associated with the Lambayeke, Sikan, and Chimu cultures. Excavations have revealed residential areas, ceremonial centers, and artifacts including pottery, metalwork, and textiles, suggesting that the site functioned both as a religious and administrative hub. Yet despite these insights, many questions remain about the motivations behind the construction, the methods employed, and the knowledge required to organize such a monumental landscape. Mainstream interpretations emphasize practical and ceremonial functions. The pyramids served as platforms for elite residences, temples, and ceremonial activities, while the plazas and causeways facilitated communal gatherings, processions, and governance. The stepped construction may have provided stability in an earthquake-prone region, while the terracing allowed for controlled access to elevated areas. Yet the coherence and scale of the pyramid clusters raise intriguing questions about engineering, social organization, and symbolic design. The construction techniques alone provoke awe. How were massive quantities of adobe and clay transported, molded, and compacted to create pyramids that have endured centuries of erosion? What methods ensured structural stability, particularly for the larger pyramids with multiple terraces? And how was construction coordinated across clusters, indicating centralized planning and labor management on a scale that modern observers can scarcely imagine? Even the spatial arrangement of the pyramids invites deeper inquiry. Clusters are oriented along axes that suggest deliberate attention to sightlines and connectivity. Some pyramids appear aligned with distant river valleys, others with the rising or setting sun during key seasonal events. Could these alignments reflect agricultural calendars, cosmological observations, or ritual significance? Was the landscape designed not just for practical or ceremonial purposes, but also as a symbolic map of power, spirituality, or cosmology? Speculative interpretations extend further. Some researchers suggest that the Tukume pyramids may have functioned as more than ceremonial platforms. They could have served as observation points for celestial events, territorial markers, or nodes in a network of sacred landscapes connecting multiple urban centers along the northern coast of Peru. The repetition of pyramid forms and causeway layouts across clusters hints at shared architectural principles, yet the reasoning behind these principles remains partially obscured. Did these structures encode knowledge of astronomy, engineering, or social hierarchy in ways that are only beginning to be understood? The scale of labor and social organization required for such constructions is staggering. Tens of thousands of people may have been involved in quarrying, transporting, and assembling earth, shaping terraces, and maintaining the structures over generations. How was such a workforce coordinated, motivated, and fed? What governance systems ensured that labor, resources, and construction knowledge were effectively organized across decades, if not centuries? Even today, the Tukum pyramids retain a sense of mystery. Modern technology, LiDAR scanning, drone surveys, and ground-penetrating radar continues to reveal hidden terraces, causeways, and subsurface features, suggesting that much of the site's complexity is still buried beneath centuries of sediment and vegetation. Each new discovery adds depth to our understanding while simultaneously raising new questions. What purposes did the smaller, more isolated pyramids serve? How did ritual, politics, and urban planning intertwine in this monumental landscape? Walking among the pyramid clusters, imagining the movement of priests, rulers, and common citizens along elevated platforms and causeways, one feels the deliberate intelligence embedded in every mound and terrace. The structures are not merely functional. They are expressions of power, knowledge, and collective vision, a landscape designed to endure, impress, and orchestrate human behavior. Yet, despite centuries of study, the full meaning of their placement, form, and alignment remains elusive. Tukume, like Chanchan, Kokino, and Rakhigarhi before it, challenges modern assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations. Its pyramid clusters demonstrate mastery of material science, urban planning, and symbolic architecture that resonates across centuries. Every mound, terrace, and alignment is both a monument to human ingenuity and a question posed to the observer, inviting us to consider what knowledge, ritual, and intention shaped these earthen giants. As we trace the contours of the pyramids, follow the raised causeways, and gaze across plazas that once thrummed with ceremonial life, one thought lingers. How much of humanity's early mastery of architecture, engineering, and social organization remains hidden in monumental landscapes like Tukume? And beyond what we can see today, what other secrets of design, ritual, and societal sophistication are waiting patiently, preserved in earth and stone to be discovered and understood? From the vast earthen pyramids of Tukume, where human hands shaped monumental terraces and causeways into ceremonial and administrative landscapes, our journey now rises into the highlands of Peru, to the windswept plateau of Marcahuasi. Here, atop the rugged terrain of the Andes, enormous stone formations emerge from the earth, monolithic silhouettes carved by time, weather, and perhaps human intent. Marcahuasi is a place where natural and possible artificial elements intertwine, creating a landscape at once breathtaking and enigmatic, where every boulder, spire, and shadow invites reflection on the ingenuity and imagination of those who walked here centuries ago. At first glance, Marcahuasi appears as a chaotic field of granite megaliths, jagged spires, rounded domes, and towering blocks scattered across the plateau. Yet as one explores further, patterns begin to emerge. Certain stones bear striking resemblances to human faces, animals, and symbolic forms, as if the very earth had been sculpted with intention. Some formations align along apparent axes or cluster into shapes that suggest more than random erosion. From the vantage points atop the plateau, one can see valleys stretching far below, rivers snaking through the mountains, and distant peaks that frame the horizon, adding to the sense of both isolation and deliberate placement. Scholars and researchers date the human activity in the surrounding region to various pre-Columbian cultures, though the precise purpose of Marcahuasi remains elusive. Some propose that the stones were used for ritual or ceremonial purposes, serving as altars, markers, or sacred sites. Others suggest that they were astronomical reference points, aligned with solstices, equinoxes, or lunar cycles, a highland observatory where the movements of the sun and stars were recorded across centuries. Archaeological evidence in the area, including remnants of terraces and stone circles, supports the idea of sustained human presence. Yet no definitive records explain the ultimate function of the formations. Mainstream interpretations often favor natural geological processes as the primary sculptor of the landscape. Wind, rain, and freeze-thaw cycles shaping the granite into curious forms over millennia. Indeed, the Andes are geologically active, and the forces that carved the plateau are formidable. Yet, the precision of certain shapes, the apparent faces, animals, and geometric arrangements, defies simple explanation. Are these purely coincidental, or did ancient inhabitants recognize and enhance these natural forms, giving them symbolic, spiritual, or practical significance? The scale and placement of the formations raise further questions. Some stones tower over 10 meters high, while others cluster in ways that suggest corridors, enclosures, or ceremonial gathering spaces. Were these spaces used for rituals, meetings, or astronomical observation? Could the plateau itself have been considered a sacred canvas, a place where nature and human imagination intersected to create a meaningful landscape? The apparent alignment of certain stones with distant mountain peaks and the rising sun at particular times of year hints at deliberate observation and understanding of celestial cycles. Speculative theories deepen the mystery. Local legends speak of the site as a spiritual portal or a repository of ancient wisdom. Some researchers have suggested that the human-like shapes of the stones represent a form of prehistoric sculpture, an early attempt to encode knowledge or commemorate ancestors. Could the plateau have functioned simultaneously as a ceremonial center, an observatory, and a symbolic landscape? If so, how was this knowledge transmitted, and what cultural or technological understanding was required to recognize, enhance, or interpret the stone forms? The interaction between natural and human forces remains central to the enigma. Even if the stone's forms are primarily geological, their selection, enhancement, and contextual use suggest an acute awareness of landscape and symbolism. How did ancient peoples navigate this rugged plateau, organize gatherings, or integrate the stone formations into daily life, ritual practice, or observation? And how much of this knowledge has been lost, leaving only the silent monoliths to hint at what once was? Modern researchers continue to explore Markawasi with photography, mapping, and minimal excavation, revealing terraces, stone circles, and pathways, suggesting that the plateau was more than a mere collection of boulders. Even so, much remains concealed beneath lichen, soil, and centuries of weathering. Every new survey invites further questions. Are the formations deliberately placed, enhanced, or entirely natural? Were they markers of territorial boundaries, ritual sites, or astronomical guides? Or do they represent an interplay of all these functions, reflecting a worldview in which sacred, practical, and observational knowledge merged seamlessly? Walking among the monoliths today, one is struck by scale, texture, and perspective. Shadows stretch across the stones as the sun moves across the sky, shifting the appearance of faces and forms with each passing hour. The plateau seems alive, its contours and crevices engaging the observer in a quiet dialogue between human perception and natural creation. Here, time itself feels layered, millennia of geological formation, centuries of human presence, and moments of reflection coexisting in the same space. Markawasi, like Tukume, Chan-Chan, and Kokino before it, challenges our understanding of what ancient societies could achieve. Its stone formations evoke mastery over perception, landscape, and possibly astronomical or ritual knowledge. Yet the full reasoning behind their placement and form remains obscure. Each spire, face, and cluster is both a natural wonder and an enduring question, silently inviting us to wonder about the intelligence, creativity, and observation encoded within the land itself. As we trace paths among these monoliths, contemplating the hands and eyes that may have shaped or interpreted them, one thought persists. How much of humanity's early understanding of landscape, symbolism, and cosmic alignment remains hidden in places like Markawasi? And beyond the visible shapes and shadows, what deeper truths about perception, ritual, and knowledge lie waiting in the stone, preserved for those patient enough to observe, reflect, and imagine? From the windswept granite landscapes of Markawasi, where colossal stones rise from the earth as if frozen mid-gesture, our journey now spans the Pacific Ocean to the turquoise waters and volcanic islands of French Polynesia. Here, on the eastern coast of Raiatea Island in the Society Islands, lies Taputapuatea, a marae of profound cultural and spiritual significance. Unlike the earthen pyramids of Tukum or the granite monoliths of Markawasi, Taputapuatea presents a deliberate and sacred architecture carved into the island's coastal terrain, a space where land, ocean, and sky converge to create a monumental stage for ritual, governance, and celestial observation. Approaching Taputapuatea, one is immediately struck by the scale and precision of the stonework. Long rectangular platforms of basalt and coral form the heart of the marae, aligned along carefully measured axes. These platforms rise above the surrounding landscape, providing expansive views of the ocean to the east and the island's interior volcanic peaks to the west. Standing atop the central platform, one can imagine how priests, chiefs, and travelers of the Polynesian world may have gathered here, observing the horizon, performing ceremonies, or transmitting knowledge across generations. The air is imbued with a sense of both permanence and ritualized time, as though every stone were placed to harmonize human activity with natural and cosmic rhythms. Taputapuatea is widely recognized as a focal point of Polynesian navigation, culture, and religion, dating back at least to the 13th century CE, though oral histories suggest even earlier foundations. It was a ceremonial center of extraordinary reach, serving as a hub connecting islands across thousands of kilometers of ocean. Voyagers traveled to this sacred site to honor ancestors, renew alliances, and perform rites that bound distant communities together. The layout of the marae, with its elongated platforms, upright stones, and adjoining ceremonial spaces, reflects both social hierarchy and cosmological principles, offering insight into a civilization whose understanding of navigation, environment, and ritual was inseparable. Mainstream interpretations describe Taputapuatea as a combination of sacred platform, meeting ground, and astronomical marker. The alignment of certain stones and axes corresponds with solstitial sunrises and moon phases, suggesting that celestial observation was integrated into ceremonial and civic life. The marae's orientation may have also been used to guide ocean voyagers, linking celestial markers with navigational routes across the Pacific. Yet the precision and sophistication of the layout continue to intrigue researchers. How did island communities, separated by vast distances and reliant on oral transmission of knowledge, construct such enduring and geometrically consistent sacred spaces? The architectural choices at Taputapuatea raise further questions. The platforms are constructed with carefully cut stones, often fitted without mortar, their stability ensured through both weight and placement. How was such precision achieved in a pre-industrial, remote island setting? Did builders employ measuring techniques now lost to time, or were these alignments guided by observation, ritual, and collective memory? Some upright stones appear intentionally placed to frame the horizon, drawing attention to the rising sun, the full moon, or distant islands. Could these markers have functioned simultaneously as ritual focal points and navigational tools, encoding knowledge into stone in ways that remain only partially understood? Speculative interpretations extend even further. Some anthropologists and researchers suggest that Taputapuatea may have served as a teaching ground, a repository for cultural knowledge, ritual expertise, and navigational instruction. Voyagers may have trained here to read the stars, ocean currents, and seasonal winds, linking sacred ritual with practical skill. Others propose that the marae's stones and platforms encoded ancestral memory, cosmological principles, or even sophisticated calendrical systems, transforming the landscape into a living map of both land and sky. The scale of labor and coordination required for such constructions is equally compelling. The transportation of basalt, coral, and other stones from quarries or riverbeds to the marae demonstrates not only technical skill but also organized social systems capable of sustaining collective effort over decades. How were these projects planned, overseen, and maintained across generations, often on islands separated by vast expanses of water? The knowledge and expertise necessary to accomplish this remain a testament to the ingenuity of Polynesian societies. Even today, the marae exerts a powerful presence. Modern preservation efforts have revealed terraces, ceremonial pathways, and upright stones that were previously obscured, offering glimpses of their original grandeur. Yet much of Taputapuatea's full purpose, its symbolic, ritual, and practical significance, remains hidden beneath layers of history, myth, and the passing of centuries. Every stone, platform, and alignment is a question, inviting observers to contemplate the world view that shaped this sacred space. Walking across Taputapuatea, one senses the deliberate intelligence embedded in every platform and upright stone. The site is not only a ceremonial center but also a testament to the intersection of human ingenuity, spirituality, and environmental observation. Each axis, alignment, and horizon line seems chosen to integrate ritual practice, social organization, and cosmological awareness into the very fabric of the landscape. Taputapuatea, like Markawasi, Tukume, and Chan Chan before it, challenges modern assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations. Its platforms and alignments demonstrate mastery of geometry, astronomy, and social coordination that resonates across centuries. Every stone is both a monument and a question, offering insight while inviting wonder. As we trace the contours of the Marae, envisioning ceremonies, gatherings, and navigational instruction that once took place here, one thought lingers. How much of early humanity's understanding of space, landscape, and the cosmos remains encoded in sacred sites like Taputapuatea? And beyond what we can see today, what other knowledge, ritual, and wisdom lie preserved in stone, patiently awaiting discovery and interpretation by those willing to observe, reflect, and imagine? From the sacred platforms of Taputapuatea, where Polynesian voyagers once gathered to honor ancestors and read the movements of sun, moon, and stars, our journey now carries us farther east into the vast Pacific, to one of the most isolated islands on Earth, Rapa Nui, or Easter Island. Here, along the windswept coastline, stands Ahu Vinapu, a ceremonial platform whose extraordinary stonework challenges our understanding of prehistoric engineering and craftsmanship. Unlike the Marae of Raiatea, Ahu Vinapu is defined not by timber or coral, but by massive basalt blocks cut and fitted with a precision that seems, even today, far beyond what would be expected for a society without metal tools. At first glance, the platform appears simple: a raised foundation, topped by a row of standing statues, the iconic moai gazing inland. Yet a closer look reveals astonishing detail. The stones of the base are polygonal, interlocking perfectly without mortar, forming seams so tight that even a blade cannot be inserted between them. Their surfaces are smoothed, their edges sharply defined. Some blocks weigh multiple tons, yet they sit in exact alignment, supporting the immense weight of the moai above. The platform stretches along the coast, integrating the land with the horizon, its orientation and design suggesting deliberate planning and ceremonial intent. Ahu Vinapu is dated to approximately 1200 to 1500 CE, a time when Rapa Nui society flourished under complex social, religious, and political structures. The platform itself is one of the finest examples of what scholars term polygonal masonry, a technique that resembles stonework seen in ancient constructions thousands of kilometers away in the Andes. Archaeologists have noted similarities between Vinapu's walls and those of Inca sites such as Sacsayhuaman, though no direct connection is documented. The precision and scale of the work raises profound questions. How did the Rapa Nui achieve such exacting craftsmanship using only stone, wood, and cord? Mainstream interpretations focus on ritual and practical functions. Ahu Vinapu was a ceremonial center, possibly associated with ancestor worship, political gatherings, or religious rites. The platform's orientation may align with solar events, linking the moai with seasonal cycles. The polygonal stonework likely served structural purposes as well, creating a foundation capable of withstanding seismic activity and erosion over centuries. Yet even within these explanations, the technical sophistication of the construction remains striking. How did islanders quarry, transport, and fit such massive stones with no metal tools, no pulleys, and limited lever systems? The alignment and interlocking of the stones invite deeper speculation. Could the builders have used advanced knowledge of geometry or leverage, developed through centuries of observation and experimentation? Did ritual or cosmological principles influence the placement and shaping of each block, merging spiritual and practical concerns into a single act of construction? Some researchers have suggested that the polygonal masonry at Ahu Vinapu reflects a symbolic connection to distant lands or lost knowledge, hinting at a broader, possibly transoceanic understanding of stonework that transcends conventional explanations. The precision and stability of the walls are particularly remarkable. Despite centuries of exposure to wind, rain, and seismic activity, the stones remain tightly interlocked, some weighing as much as 30 tons. How were these blocks cut, leveled, and positioned with such accuracy? Could the platform itself have served as a form of instruction, a teaching ground where knowledge of stonework, social organization, and ritual practice was transmitted to successive generations? And what role did communal coordination, leadership, and specialized labor play in accomplishing feats that challenge modern assumptions about pre-industrial societies? Speculative interpretations deepen the mystery. Some theorists suggest that the techniques employed at Ahu Vinapu may reflect an understanding of principles now associated with structural engineering, geometry, or even astronomy. Certain alignments could have been intended to mark solstices or equinoxes, linking the moai, the platform, and the horizon in a complex ritual calendar system. Others ponder whether the extraordinary precision of the masonry was itself a symbolic act, a demonstration of power, skill, and divine favor encoded into stone to assert social cohesion and spiritual authority. The scale of human effort required to construct Ahu Vinapu is staggering. Quarries, transport paths, and levering methods would have demanded immense coordination and planning, not to mention social structures capable of mobilizing labor across generations. How was knowledge preserved and transmitted without written records? How did communities negotiate the logistics of such monumental projects while sustaining daily life in an isolated island environment? The platform stands as a testament to ingenuity, organization, and cultural vision, yet its full story remains tantalizingly out of reach. Even today, as visitors walk along the platform, observing the smooth, interlocking stones and the stately moai, one cannot help but feel the deliberate intelligence embedded in the construction. Every block, every seam, and every alignment conveys a sense of purpose that extends beyond simple function, suggesting a worldview in which ritual, social structure, and environmental observation were inseparable. Ahu Vinapu, like Taputapuatea and Markawasi before it, challenges assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations, inviting us to consider not only what was achieved, but how and why it was achieved. As we trace the contours of the platform, imagining the hands, eyes, and minds that shaped each stone, one thought lingers. How much of early humanity's architectural, mathematical, and organizational knowledge remains hidden in sites like Ahu Vinapu? And beyond the visible precision and monumental scale, what other secrets, ritual, astronomical, or technological, lie encoded in the stone, waiting for those patient enough to observe, reflect, and imagine the extraordinary capabilities of the Rapa Nui? From the remote cliffs of Easter Island, where the polygonal masonry of Ahu Vinapu speaks of human ingenuity interwoven with ritual and celestial observation, our journey now turns westward to the high plains of the Andes, to a place where stone seems to defy expectation itself, Puma Punku, the legendary complex near Tiwanaku in modern Bolivia. Here, amidst the wind-swept altiplano, lie enormous, precisely cut stones scattered across a vast ceremonial site, their arrangement and craftsmanship raising questions that continue to challenge archaeologists, engineers, and historians alike. Puma Punku is not merely a ruin. It is a testament to a civilization whose understanding of stone, geometry, and construction appears astonishingly advanced, even by today's standards. The first sight of Puma Punku is mesmerizing. Gigantic sandstone and andesite blocks, some weighing tens of tons, lie in seemingly haphazard disarray, fractured by centuries of seismic activity, weather, and the passage of time. Yet upon closer inspection, patterns emerge. The stones are cut with extraordinary precision, featuring perfectly straight edges, right angles, and complex interlocking shapes. Holes, channels, and grooves are carved with mechanical exactness, suggesting techniques and tools that remain largely unexplained. Walking among the scattered blocks, one is struck by the scale and ambition of the original construction, imagining the enormous effort required to quarry, transport, and fit these monoliths together into a coherent architectural whole. Mainstream archaeology dates Puma Punku to approximately 536 to 600 CE as part of the greater Tiwanaku complex. Tiwanaku served as a political, ceremonial, and spiritual hub for the Andean highlands, connecting trade, agriculture, and religious life across the Altiplano. Puma Punku appears to have functioned as a ceremonial platform or temple precinct, a space where elite rituals, astronomical observation, and societal gatherings converged. Yet the methods by which the builders shaped and transported stones of such size remain deeply enigmatic. How were blocks weighing over 100 tons cut, smoothed, and aligned with such accuracy without metal tools, pulleys, or wheeled transport? The precision of Puma Punku is particularly striking. Many blocks feature right angles accurate to within millimeters, straight edges extending meters, and precisely bored circular holes. Some stones interlock like enormous jigsaw pieces, forming joints so exact that they resist movement even centuries after construction. Mainstream interpretations suggest that Tiwanaku artisans may have used hammerstones, abrasive techniques, and careful planning to achieve these results. Yet the precision, uniformity, and scale of the work still surpass the capabilities we typically attribute to pre-industrial societies, prompting speculation about unknown techniques, advanced measurement systems, or lost tools. The arrangement of the stones adds another layer of mystery. Some blocks appear to have been part of massive terraces, platforms, or structures that aligned with astronomical phenomena, including solstices and equinoxes. Could these orientations indicate a sophisticated understanding of the solar calendar, used to organize agricultural cycles, ceremonial events, or societal administration? The presence of channels and precisely carved notches in some stones suggests a functional purpose, perhaps for joining, drainage, or ritual offerings, but their exact use remains uncertain. Speculative theories extend further. Some researchers and enthusiasts propose that Puma Punku represents evidence of knowledge or techniques now lost to history. Advanced geometry, precise surveying, or methods of moving massive stone blocks without the mechanical tools we assume were necessary. Others wonder whether some of the stone features were symbolic, encoding cosmological, religious, or social principles directly into the architecture itself. Could Puma Punku have served simultaneously as a ceremonial space, an astronomical observatory, and a teaching ground for technical or spiritual knowledge? The logistics of construction are equally confounding. Andesite blocks at Puma Punku were quarried many kilometers away, transported across rugged terrain, and fitted with astonishing precision. How did Tiwanaku society organize the labor, tools, and knowledge required for such feats. Was there a specialized class of engineers or stoneworkers, or was knowledge distributed across generations of artisans? And how was accuracy maintained over such massive scales without written plans, modern surveying instruments, or standardized units of measurement? Even now, Puma Punku continues to defy simple explanation. Modern surveys, 3D mapping, and experimental archaeology have offered insights, yet many questions remain. The apparent mechanical precision, the complexity of the interlocking blocks, and the sheer ambition of the construction challenge assumptions about human capability and societal organization in the Andes over 1,500 years ago. Walking through Puma Punku today, among shattered yet enduring stones, one is struck by the intersection of skill, vision, and purpose. Each block tells a story of planning, labor, and cultural significance, yet also embodies mystery, hinting at lost techniques and unrecorded knowledge. The site evokes a sense of awe, not only for what was achieved, but for what remains beyond our understanding. Puma Punku, like Ahu Vinapu Taputapuatea and Marcahuasi before it, compels us to reconsider the limits of ancient societies. Its stones embody technical mastery, architectural sophistication, and possibly symbolic or astronomical knowledge that resonate across centuries. Each precisely cut block, each interlocking joint, is a testament to a civilization capable of extraordinary feats. Yet the full reasoning, methodology, and purpose remain tantalizingly elusive. As we trace the grooves, edges, and arrangements of these colossal stones, one thought persists. How much of humanity's early mastery of engineering, geometry, and monumental construction lies buried in Puma Punku, hidden within shattered walls and fractured blocks? And beyond the visible ruins, what secrets of skill, observation, and cultural knowledge remain encoded in these stones, patiently awaiting discovery and understanding by those willing to observe, reflect, and imagine the extraordinary capabilities of the Tiwanaku civilization? High on the windswept Altiplano of Peru, where the sky stretches pale and endless above the rugged plateau, rise the Silistani burial towers, monolithic sentinels of stone standing in solemn rows, overlooking the deep waters of Lake Umayo. From a distance, they appear almost suspended, their cylindrical forms defying the harsh Andean landscape, as if lifted from the earth and set meticulously in place by hands long vanished. The stones, massive and precisely shaped, catch the shifting light of the high-altitude sun, casting elongated shadows that seem to stretch toward eternity, as though time itself hesitates in their presence. These structures, known locally as cholpas, were built by the Colla people, a pre-Incan culture whose influence predates the Inca by several centuries. The towers, some reaching over 10 meters in height, were intended as tombs for the nobility, guardians of both social and spiritual hierarchies. Each stone block, sometimes weighing several tons, was cut, polished, and fitted together with astonishing precision, without the aid of mortar. The workmanship is so exact that even a thin knife blade cannot be inserted between many of the stones, a fact that continues to confound modern engineers and archaeologists alike. The purpose of the chulpas was both practical and symbolic. Inside, the dead were placed in a fetal position, often accompanied by finely crafted ceramics, textiles, and tools, a tangible connection to their earthly lives. Yet these burial practices also hint at a deeper cosmological understanding. The towers themselves are carefully aligned with the cardinal points, and some scholars suggest their positioning may have been connected to the sun, the stars, and the Andean concept of duality, where the spiritual world mirrors the physical. The Colla, like their successors, the Inca, seemed to understand that death was not an end, but a continuation, a bridge between the living and the cosmic. But how were these massive towers constructed in such a remote and unforgiving environment? This is where the mystery deepens. The stones used in many of the chulpas are quarried from distant locations, some kilometers away from the site. Transporting such immense blocks without the wheel, without draft animals, and across steep, rocky terrain is a puzzle that has prompted decades of research and frustration. Some researchers suggest complex systems of ramps, levers, and manpower, yet the scale and precision remain extraordinary. Could there have been techniques lost to time, methods that were never recorded, secrets of engineering that defy our current understanding? As you move closer to the chulpas, the sense of ancient ritual becomes palpable. The surfaces of some towers bear faint carvings, spirals, zigzags, and geometric patterns whose meanings remain speculative. Were these purely decorative, or did they carry coded messages, cosmic symbols, or protective charms for the departed? Theories abound, ranging from the spiritual to the esoteric. Some suggest that the towers were designed as acoustic amplifiers, resonating with certain frequencies to communicate with the beyond. Others propose that the geometry of the towers encoded astronomical knowledge, a kind of stone-bound calendar or map of the heavens. The stones themselves, perfectly interlocked and resistant to centuries of earthquakes and erosion, hint at knowledge of materials and physics that even modern builders would admire. Archaeological evidence confirms the Kala's technical sophistication, yet it leaves unanswered questions. The placement of Silastani, perched on a promontory overlooking Lake Umayo, is as strategic as it is enigmatic. From this vantage, the towers dominate the landscape, visible from miles around. Some speculate that the site's selection was influenced not only by sacred considerations, but also by practical ones: visibility for ceremonies, a demonstration of power, or even alignment with the movement of the sun across the sky. Yet despite extensive study, the full reasoning behind the site's layout, the exact methods of construction, and the precise significance of its ceremonial role remain elusive. There are whispers of theories that stretch beyond conventional archaeology, ideas that tantalize the imagination without demanding belief. Could the Kola have possessed knowledge passed down from an earlier, forgotten civilization? Did they harness techniques or understanding of stone, geometry, or energy that have been lost to history? Some point to the uncanny precision and scale as evidence that these builders may have tapped into knowledge or technologies far beyond what we traditionally attribute to ancient Andean cultures. Others see the towers as a testament to human ingenuity, the extreme skill, patience, and vision of a people fully in harmony with their landscape. Either way, the aura of mystery is undeniable. Walking among the chulpas, it is impossible not to feel a quiet tension between what we know and what remains hidden. Modern archaeology can document, measure, and hypothesize, but the towers themselves seem to hold their secrets tightly. Even the way the light moves across the stones, casting long shadows that shift throughout the day, can make a visitor feel as though the site is alive, attuned to the rhythms of the earth and sky in ways we can only guess at. Each tower, each block of stone, is a question etched in granite, a challenge to our assumptions about what ancient humans could accomplish. Perhaps the greatest mystery of Silastani lies not in the mechanics of construction, but in the intention behind it. Why build in such a precise, monumental fashion? Was it to honor the dead, to communicate with unseen forces, or to leave a legacy that would endure far beyond a single lifetime? And if so, what does that tell us about the Kala people, their worldview, and their understanding of the universe? As the wind sweeps across the plateau and the lake reflects the pale, shifting light of the Andean sky, the chulpas stand silently, both guardians and enigma. Their secrets remain buried, not only in stone, but in time itself, tantalizing us with the possibility that our ancestors were capable of far more than we often imagine. What knowledge did they possess? What skills? What understanding of the cosmos and the earth that enabled them to create something so enduring and so precise? And as we step back, letting the towers recede into the distance. The questions linger. We may never know the full story. Yet perhaps it is in this uncertainty, in the silent testimony of stone against the sky, that the true power of Silistani lies, a reminder that history is not only written in books, but carved in enduring mysteries, waiting for those who dare to wonder. From the high, windswept heights of the Andean Plateau, we descend into the thick, humid embrace of the Colombian Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, where the jungle swallows the mountains in a riot of green. Here, hidden beneath centuries of dense foliage and mist, lie the lower terraces of Ciudad Perdida, the lost city, a network of stepped platforms, stone pathways, and intricate drainage systems that whisper of a civilization whose mastery of their environment seems almost otherworldly. If Silistani challenged our understanding of stonework on the windswept Altiplano, Ciudad Perdida forces us to confront a different kind of wonder. A city, vast and hidden, carved into the heart of the jungle with an elegance and sophistication that continues to baffle archaeologists. As we step through the thick undergrowth, the first terraces appear, rising in carefully measured steps from the forest floor. Each platform is constructed from precisely cut stones, meticulously fitted together, their surfaces smooth from centuries of rain and vegetation. The terraces are not merely aesthetic. They form an integrated system of agriculture, water management, and habitation. Channels carved into the stone guide rainfall away from the structures, preventing erosion in a region prone to torrential downpours. Some stones weigh several tons, yet they are placed with a precision that seems to defy explanation, particularly given the challenging terrain and lack of known lifting technologies. Ciudad Perdida is believed to have been founded around the 9th century CE by the Tairona culture, a civilization that thrived in the mountains long before the Spanish conquest. The lower terraces were likely residential and ceremonial spaces, forming the backbone of a complex urban landscape that could support hundreds, if not thousands, of inhabitants. Archaeologists have uncovered pottery, stone tools, and remnants of sacred sites, all pointing to a highly organized society with an intimate knowledge of their environment. Yet despite this evidence, much about the city remains mysterious. How did the Tairona transport massive stones up steep mountainsides, through dense forest, without the use of wheels or draft animals? How did they coordinate the construction of terraces spanning several square kilometers, often in locations that seem almost inaccessible? Walking among the terraces, one cannot help but be struck by the harmony between architecture and nature. The platforms rise naturally with the contours of the mountains, the stonework integrated seamlessly into the terrain. Some scholars suggest that this alignment was not accidental, that the Tairona possessed a sophisticated understanding of geomancy, the spiritual significance of landscape, using the terraces to mirror cosmic patterns or to harness the flow of natural energies. The city itself may have functioned as a living organism, a blend of utility, spirituality, and symbolism. The mystery deepens when we consider the sheer scale of the construction. Some terraces are nearly 4 meters high, composed of massive stone blocks cut with astonishing uniformity. Modern experiments attempting to replicate the construction methods using only tools available to the Tairona have met with limited success. The precision, durability, and longevity of the terraces suggest a knowledge of engineering and materials far beyond what we typically attribute to pre-Columbian cultures in this region. Could there have been techniques or knowledge passed down from an earlier lost civilization? Or were the Tairona simply masters of observation, patience, and ingenuity, achieving feats that modern builders would struggle to replicate without machinery? The lower terraces are interspersed with stone stairways and paths that lead deeper into the jungle, connecting platforms with ceremonial plazas and water reservoirs. The stones are often fitted so tightly that even after centuries of seismic activity, the steps remain level and the paths intact. Some terraces align with the cardinal points, and certain stones bear carved markings, spirals, lines, and symbols whose meanings have yet to be fully deciphered. Were these functional markers, spiritual symbols, or perhaps both? Archaeologists debate the significance of these markings, yet their precision and placement suggest intentionality far beyond mere decoration. Beyond the terraces, the jungle conceals even greater enigmas. Hidden pathways and overgrown structures hint at an expansive network of roads and settlements, some stretching for kilometers, connecting the city to other Tairona sites. Many of these roads climb sheer mountainsides or disappear into thick vegetation, prompting speculation about how the Tairona navigated and maintained such an extensive network. Some theorists propose that the city was not only a hub of habitation, but a spiritual or astronomical center, its layout encoding knowledge of celestial cycles, solstices, and equinoxes. Could the terraces themselves have been observatories or markers aligned with the stars, a cosmic calendar carved into stone? Even the materials themselves raise questions. The stones used in many of the terraces are sourced from distant quarries, their transport an immense logistical challenge. Some blocks bear a smoothness and polish that suggests advanced cutting techniques. How did the Tairona achieve such precision without metal tools of the kind used in later civilizations? Could they have employed lost methods of stone shaping and transport, techniques that vanished with the collapse of their culture? And if so, why do we find no detailed records of these methods? Only the silent testimony of terraces standing resolutely amid the jungle? Despite centuries of study, the lower terraces of Ciudad Perdida resist complete understanding. The city was abandoned long before the arrival of Europeans, and the stories of its construction and purpose were preserved only in oral traditions, now fragmented and partial. Yet every stone, every carefully placed platform, challenges our assumptions about what prehistoric civilizations could accomplish. Were the Tairona simply extraordinary builders? Or did they inherit knowledge from an earlier culture whose traces have been lost to time? Some suggest that the precision and scale of the terraces point to influences or techniques far beyond conventional explanations, leaving open the tantalizing possibility of forgotten histories and unseen civilizations. Walking the terraces today, one is struck by a profound sense of stillness, interrupted only by the distant calls of birds and the rustling of the jungle. It is as if the city itself holds its breath, guarding its secrets. The stones seem to resonate with the labor and intention of generations long gone, their arrangement a silent dialogue between humanity and nature, between the known and the unknowable. Modern visitors often speak of a subtle, almost palpable energy, a sensation that the terraces were more than dwellings, more than agricultural platforms, that they were part of a sophisticated system of knowledge, spirituality, and power. Perhaps the most enduring mystery of Ciudad Perdida's lower terraces lies not in their physical construction, but in the intentions behind it. Why build with such care, such precision, in a place so remote and challenging? What knowledge guided the Tairona, and why did it vanish so completely after the city's abandonment? Are the terraces simply a testament to human ingenuity? Or are they remnants of a lost chapter in our collective past? A civilization whose full story is still waiting to be uncovered? As the mist curls through the forest canopy and sunlight filters through the dense leaves, illuminating the terraces in shifting patterns of light and shadow, we are left with questions that echo across the centuries. The lower terraces of Ciudad Perdida remain a monument not only to the skill of the Tairona, but to the enduring enigma of human history. Each platform, each stone, is a reminder that there are chapters of our past still hidden in plain sight, waiting for those with patience, curiosity, and courage to seek them out. And so, As we turn away from the terraces and follow the jungle paths deeper into the mountains, the questions linger. What other knowledge, what other marvels lie buried beneath the foliage, concealed by time yet still speaking to those willing to listen? And if such sophistication could emerge here, in this remote corner of the world, what might still be waiting, beyond our current understanding, hidden in the shadows of the past? From the hidden terraces of Ciudad Perdida, where the jungle whispers secrets of a civilization lost to time, we return to the high valleys of Peru, where the dry winds of the Andes sweep across a different kind of enigma. Huari Picalacta, an ancient city of stone that continues to baffle archaeologists and visitors alike. Unlike the jungle-cloaked terraces of Colombia, Picalacta lies exposed to the elements, sprawling across a plateau of arid earth, its blocks of stone bleached by centuries of sun and wind. Here, the city's layout, its massive blocks, and its precise construction present a mystery that is both tangible and perplexing, raising questions about the ingenuity and perhaps the unknown knowledge of its builders. As we approach the site, the first impression is one of overwhelming order. The stone walls rise in precise geometric patterns, forming a network of streets, plazas, and enclosures that stretch across hectares. The blocks are rectangular, some weighing several tons, and are joined with such accuracy that mortar was unnecessary. Even today, modern engineers marvel at how these stones were cut, moved, and fitted together, especially considering the tools and techniques thought to have been available to the Huari civilization, which flourished between 600 and 1000 CE. Every corner, every angle seems deliberate, almost mathematical, suggesting a level of planning and surveying that rivals anything produced in later centuries. Picalacta, meaning flea town in Quechua, was likely an administrative and ceremonial center for the Huari. The city's streets are laid out in a grid-like pattern, a startling feature in a world and era where such urban planning was rare. Buildings cluster around open plazas, forming neighborhoods that hint at a complex social structure. Some areas appear residential, others clearly ceremonial, while certain enclosures suggest storage or administrative functions. Yet as we trace the lines of these walls, a question emerges. How did the Huari achieve such precision across uneven terrain, and why choose this particular plateau, isolated and windswept, for a city of this scale? The stones themselves hold their own mysteries. Many are large and perfectly squared, with edges so true that light cannot penetrate the seams. The sheer size of some blocks, each requiring immense labor to transport and set, poses questions about the methods used. Theories range from simple human ingenuity, using ropes, ramps, and sheer manpower, to more speculative ideas suggesting unknown techniques, perhaps lost to history. Could the Huari have possessed knowledge of leverage, acoustics, or vibration that allowed them to move stones with surprising ease? Or are we witnessing an extraordinary feat accomplished purely through patience, coordination, and observation, honed over generations? As we move through the streets of Picalacta, the sense of precision and order deepens. The city is laid out with remarkable uniformity, walls following strict angles, pathways intersecting at right angles, plazas positioned with geometric exactitude. Some scholars have noted that the city's layout mirrors certain cosmological patterns, perhaps aligning with the sun at solstices or other celestial events. Was the placement of Picalacta purely practical, a hub for administration and trade, or did the Huari intend the city to serve as a terrestrial reflection of cosmic principles? And if so, what knowledge guided them? Knowledge that seems astonishingly advanced for its time. Further intrigue emerges when examining the construction techniques. The stones of Picalacta show evidence of advanced cutting and shaping, their surfaces smooth, edges sharp, and joints so precise that centuries of earthquakes have left the city largely intact. In some sectors, the blocks are arranged in interlocking patterns that resist movement, a technique reminiscent of later Incan masonry. How did the Wari, centuries before the rise of the Inca, achieve such technical mastery? Was it simply trial and error refined over generations, or was there a deeper understanding of materials, geometry, and stability that has since been lost? The city's purpose adds another layer of mystery. Pikalakta seems to have been abandoned around the 12th century for reasons still debated. Some suggest environmental changes, others conflict or social upheaval, but no definitive explanation exists. The abruptness of its desertion, combined with the city's complexity, leaves a lingering question. If the Wari could create such a meticulously planned urban center, why leave it to crumble into the plateau dust, to be reclaimed by time? Were there dangers we do not understand, or decisions made for reasons lost to history? Beyond the practical and historical considerations, Pikalakta evokes a subtler mystery, one of intention and vision. The city's blocks, plazas, and pathways exude a rhythm, a deliberate choreography that hints at a cultural understanding of space, proportion, and human movement. Some theorists have speculated that the Wari may have had ceremonial or ritualistic reasons for their layouts, perhaps encoding spiritual, astronomical, or even symbolic knowledge into the very architecture of the city. Could the streets themselves have functioned as processional routes for religious ceremonies? Did the plazas serve as stages for observing celestial events? The stones remain silent, offering only the faintest echoes of purpose. Wari Pikalakta challenges not only our understanding of the civilization that built it, but also our assumptions about what is possible with the tools and knowledge of the time. Each sector block, each perfectly set stone, prompts us to reconsider the limits of prehistoric engineering. Are we witnessing the culmination of human skill and ingenuity, or do these constructions hint at influences and techniques that are no longer known, remnants of a lost tradition or knowledge inherited from even earlier cultures? Even today, as archaeologists map the city, examine the stonework, and compare it with other Wari sites, the sense of wonder persists. Pikalakta is not merely a collection of ruins. It is a testament to an intelligence that organized labor, mathematics, and architecture into a coherent, enduring design. Walking among its streets, one feels a dialogue between the ancient and the present, a silent communication carried across a millennium. The city seems to ask questions rather than provide answers. How did you do this? Why did you do this? And what have you left for those of us who come centuries later to decipher? Perhaps the most compelling mystery is not the mechanics of construction, but the story of human ambition itself. Wari Pikalakta forces us to confront a paradox. Here is a civilization capable of remarkable precision and organization, yet so little is known about them, and so much remains unexplained. Are these stones merely the remnants of administrative necessity, or are they markers of something far greater, an understanding of the world, of human capability that has been obscured by time? As the high Andean winds sweep across the plateau, carrying dust and echoes of an era long past, Pikalakta stands as both a monument and a question. Its blocks, its terraces, and its streets are a silent testament to ingenuity, ambition, and perhaps knowledge lost to history. And as we step away, tracing the patterns of light and shadow across the ancient stones, we are left with a lingering sense of wonder. What other secrets lie buried in the precision of these blocks, waiting for those with patience and imagination to uncover them? What truths about the Wari, and perhaps about the limits of human capability, remain hidden, quietly defying explanation?